lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get
He missed the complete that. He's crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through, he tags Richard Eck.
The winding, narrow turns of VIR delivered its typical unpredictable results, punishing the drivers who lacked respect for the oak tree stomping grounds. But switching gears, the teams go from a rustic, fabled circuit to a shiny new high-tech one. Circuit of the Americas takes advantage of Texas' wide-open spaces with plenty of runoff, but no shortage of technical and challenging corners. With this being only the second visit for the series, have any of the drivers learned some of the secrets to this track? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 9 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series live on the Global Sim Racing channel. I am Joe Peak. With me in the booth covering the GS class tonight is Brian Yazik standing in for Bill Zahn. And bringing us all the stories from the ST class is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director Giancarlo Lenzi, and his cameras have been provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, with you being a resident Texan, I think it's fitting that you introduce us to this circuit. Tell us about CoTA.
Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to the great state of Texas, deep in the heart of Texas, the state capital, Austin, Texas, here at Circuit of the Americas, just east of downtown, about 15 minutes just outside of downtown. Really kind of in the middle of nowhere. Haven't been there. I can tell you it's a pretty empty prairie around the track there, but man, I'll tell you what, there's all kinds of trouble on this track, all the way from turn 1 all the way down through turn 10. You will see battles and challenges today as they head through those series of S's and make their way down into a very, very hard turn there in turn 11. This track is fun, it's fast, and it's very tricky. It shares certain characteristics of other tracks. It's a Herman Tilke design, so he stole some ideas from some of his other tracks like Sepang and Istanbul and even Hockenheim. So there's some familiar parts of this track, but man, I look forward to be wide open. And like you said, there is plenty of runoff, but that runoff, if you go all the way to the very outer limits of it, you have a long time getting back for sure.
And our apologies, we had the track map for Road Atlanta on the screen. We are at Circuit of the Americas, and in fact, if you want to get a driver's eye view, we have a lap guide to show you what they see. Alright, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC Mustang, so let's do a lap around Circuit of the Americas. Coming up to turn 1, you have the notorious wall of pavement with that gigantic rise in elevation. This is an incredibly sharp corner with an apex that's very difficult to spot. It's also pretty dangerous on lap 1 and restarts with cars taking so many different lines. There's likely going to be some drivers trying the over-under here. Now we hit turn 2, which starts off the S's. You're going to be switching back and forth for quite some time, so if you get off rhythm, you'll be offline for a big chunk of the lap. You'll also notice lots of those little pyramid curves at most of the apexes, and though the Mustang suspension is a little more pliable, it's still a good idea not to hit them too much throughout the day. There's a parking lot's worth of paving on either side of the track all the way through here, but obviously a cut course will cost you dearly if you miss a turn. Eventually you'll come to the top of the hill at turn 9, and that's where you'll finally get a breather from the back and forth. But now we've come to the farthest part of the track, and the hairpin of turn 11. This does offer some passing opportunities, but once again, it's a super sharp corner where the other driver might not see your dive bomb until it's too late. It also brings the car onto the backstretch, so if you made a pass into 11 and got a bad exit, your competitor might just take it back before they even get to the next turn. You'll get another little breather on this long straight, just don't get too distracted and accidentally miss a shift. Drafting might come into play with it being such a long stretch, but the real key to executing your pass will be spotting your braking point heading into 12. There's paved runoff on the outside if you outbrake yourself, but obviously you're going to lose the spot you were trying to get in the process. Now we head into the Patience Shrine Stadium section with a series of switchback hairpins. They're so slow and so close together, it almost feels like an autocross track more than it does a multi-million-dollar facility. These will invite many drivers to get on the gas too early and exit wide. Not much passing can be done here, but it's possible if you're brave enough to capitalize on your opponent's mistakes. As we switch to the left, we're setting up now for the triple apexer of 16, 17, and 18. Once again, drivers will need the patience of a monk around these turns, or else they'll find themselves drifting into the stars and stripes. That's because you'll want to stay right and get the car in position for 19. The off-camber nature of this turn and the drop-off afterwards means that drivers will be overshooting it left, right, and center all day long. Thankfully, the paved runoff means you don't suffer too much for that, but right away you're approaching the final turn. This is another critical exit since it leads onto the front stretch and towards turn 1, which is a passing zone. Get on the gas as soon as you can and avoid that wheel spin to keep from having to defend up the hill. But that's a lap around Circuit of the Americas. You wouldn't usually associate Texas with lots of elevation change, but they certainly made sure that there was a lot here, and it is going to provide a challenge out there. I understand we do have the actual track map. Let's see if we can pop that up just so that you can get a, there you go, overhead view. They're actually heading through the last stadium section there through 15 and 16 on screen right now, so that should give you an idea of just how technical it is. Look at all the corners on this circuit. Now, one guy that seems to have mastered all the corners on this circuit is Christian Challoner. Brian, it seems like he's got the legs on everybody right now.
I would say he has the arms and the legs on everybody right now. His qualifying time is 1.2 seconds up on his nearest competitor, Kevin Ford. That car, I was kind of keeping an eye on it in qualifying, looks planted. Those Mustangs make a lot of grunt on the low end, and his car never really seemed like it wiggled at all or had any kind of distress to it. So, you know, as this race goes on, well, I mean, it's a long race, but I know who my favorite is.
Seems like an easy call, but like you said, 2.5 hours. He has to hold it together for that amount of time. And of course, obviously, we send out our good thoughts to Bill Zahn, who could not be with us tonight. He had a family emergency, so well wishes go to his way. Hopefully everything turns out okay with him and he'll be back with us soon. Well, as well, we also have the ST guys to worry about, and it looks like the usual 49 or the usual Asbury domination up top that we're used to seeing is not what we're seeing today during qualifying. In fact, we have one of the Asbury guys with us. They're still up there, but Richard, you guys got toppled there in qualifying. Do you think you can challenge him?
Absolutely. Good evening, folks. Happy to be here for a few minutes. Hey, Joe Freitas is a known fast guy, so we're not too concerned by Joe Freitas. He's partnered with Benjamin Lanowet, and I do believe that our guys will have the better of Benjamin Lanowet in the second half of the race. So no, we're not all that concerned, sir.
Certainly looks close up top. It's you guys are within a tenth of each other between, I believe it was Sonny's car, correct, who is qualified on second place currently in the ST?
That is correct, sir. And, you know, Sonny will be driving the whole race by himself, as will the number 14, Stefan Overgaard. People are not too in love with this track, I must say. But back to you, Joe. I see they're going to be getting ready for a start in a couple of minutes.
Yep. Checkered flag, as you can see on the graphic, has come out, so drivers are finishing their hot lap. Thank you for joining us, Richard. I believe Richard is about to go and enjoy the Bathurst race, actually, so he is off to have some Australian flavor racing while we are firmly planted here in the heart of the American-style racing. Sean, it is going to be certainly a little bit sparse with such a long track and only 15 cars total in our field, but this track certainly isn't without its challenges, it seems.
Well, you talked about those elevation changes. I believe now, without having the statistical data in front of me, but I think it's like 112 feet to the top of turn 1. That's a pretty good piece up the track right there. And then you've got to come down as soon as you take that hard left-hander into a pretty tricky turn there through turn 2. Gain a lot of speed there, down through there, and then you got to get on it hard through 5 and through that section down there, and you wait at 10, like I talked about before. With the elevation changes that we're talking about, and off of 11, you go back down the hill again. It's a lot of back and forth, man. A lot of good passing opportunities here. Your braking points are going to be really important. You're going to have to be really careful not to use that guy in front of you as a bumper here. You got to get on the binders pretty hard in several spots, such as like 15 and 16, as you were talking about before. And even turn 19 and 20, man. Some of the trickiest spots on this track where you're carrying a lot of speed, and like I said, you got to get on the binders quick and hit your shift points just on point.
And we've seen in the past that some of the, you mentioned the shift points, some of those ST cars, those MX-5s have been known to blow an engine. So either from downshifting or just getting it all wrong, we'll have to watch out for that with the high speeds that they're going to be achieving on that backstretch. Well, we are still waiting, actually, for cars to finish their hot lap, I believe. I'm trying to see who we are on board with at the moment. Looks like Jeff Jacobs, actually, who is paired up with, incredibly, Wyatt Gooden, a known hot shoe. He is going to be one to watch, Brian. I wouldn't be surprised if he could put a challenge in for Challoner.
Hey, absolutely, but we've got a long enough race. It's funny, with these long endurance races, I think what we find a lot of the times is everybody will get really nice and spread out, but then as it comes down to the closing stages of the race, is probably the last half hour, kind of like a big rubber band, all these guys are going to find each other again, and it's going to be a really good fight to the finish.
Undoubtedly. And as always, this series does have caution flags. Now, there's not a lot of hit out there as the session has now finished, so we're going to go through it in just a second. So we don't expect cautions, but you cannot ever count it out in this series. So as we wait for the cars to grid, Sean, I have to ask, we already know who Brian is betting on. Who do you think is looking good today with it being so close up at the top of ST?
You know what? I'm going to have to go with the old 426 there, old James Stevenson and Tomoki Kono, the Sleeping Dragon. I think those boys have got something for us today. Look for a show from the 426 today.
I certainly wouldn't put it past them. They're sitting in third. Let's go through the grid real quick. I'm waiting for our leader, however, to start the race. Blackadder Motorsports number 66 is on pole. Now, that should be started by Christian Challoner, we believe. There, yes, we can see it on the screen. Second place is going to be Kevin C. Ford in KLM Racing GS. Then Jeff Jacobs will be starting in third in the Torque Chicken Racing GS class. And Brian starting fourth is Anthony Woodward, number 325 in the Bad Cactus Racing GS car.
Yes, and starting P5 is Steven Spantig. P6 tonight is George Johnson. P7, and rounding out the top half of the field would be Jason Breifogel.
Okay, and starting on point in the 449 Motorsports entry, it's going to be Joao Freitas in ninth. Sonny Canchin, Asbury Motorsports 74 entry. In the Asbury Motorsports 426, James Stevenson. In the Asbury Motorsports 14, Stefan Overgaard. Turn 2 Motorsports, number 81, Jonathan Auger. 49 Motorsports and a number 49, Chris Houston, I'm sorry, guys. In the BWR entry, the 01, Matthew Reinhold. And in the SAR Racing entry, number 42, Andres Welgemude.
And that is our grid that's going to be starting this 2.5-hour race here around this Texas circuit. Cars are now weaving around the technical portion of the stadium section, as they like to call it. There we can see back from the pace car onto the field. GS cars obviously going to lead the way with Christian Challoner at the front. We'll see how he gets off on the line. That first corner is a sharp one. And Brian, I wouldn't put it past, even with the small field, a couple of guys running into trouble in that sharp little turn. I think we might have lost Brian there for a second.
I'm back now. I'm back. Sorry.
There we go. But yeah, I was talking about that sharp first corner and the challenges that it can provide for this field, even with a small one, and the crossover effect that can sometimes happen.
Well, absolutely. You get such a huge run up that long front straightaway, and then like a big funnel, you catch up there in turn one. But then getting in there is half the battle. Getting out of the corner fine and onto the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 section is your other half of the battle. So here we go, rounding out at corner 19, corner 20 right now, and they're coming to the green.
Challenger leads the way, waiting for the green flag to fall. A long wait. Very long wait, still waiting for the green flag to fly. There we go. That was the longest I think I've ever seen them wait. And in third, Jeff Jacobs got a great run, but has to check up just behind them. Steven Spantig looking on the inside, already going 3 wide down to the first corner. He doesn't press the issue. Challenger leads them away through the first turn. And everybody looks like they made it through clean. And ST class is off and going. Sean, what's it look like over there?
Oh, yeah, they were. And wow, Freight is slow to the pedal there. And already Stevenson breaking away. Got right ahead of him there. No problem at all.
The head of AMS, Richard Losber, was saying how he does not feel threatened by the 49 Motorsports driver Joao Freitas, and it is coming true before they even reach the first corner. Stevenson leading away, Joao Freitas in second, Sonny Kanchan in third in the Asbury Motorsports number 74, and then Stefan Overgaard with a good start up to fourth.
Yeah, good start for Stefan, but I'll tell you what, Joao just fell asleep on the start. I heard go, 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 and man, Stevenson was all over it and just shot right in there, man. What a great move, great start for Stevenson.
Stevenson and his teammate Tomoki Kono are the ones that are looking to try and seal the deal on the championship. Sadly, we are not able to give you these championship status because the points have not been updated. And we have a pass going for second place already here, Sean.
We sure do. Looking to the inside there. Get Overgaard. Oh, man. What? I'll tell you what, that was close, but little give and take here early on. A long race to go here, Joe.
Sonny Kanchan moves himself up into second. Joao Freitas goes from first to third in the first lap. Not looking too good. Let's check in on the GS cars. Brian, what have you been watching over there?
I have been watching a lot of Follow the Leader right now as they're winding their way around these courses. Not a whole lot of action going on. Like Sean and yourself has mentioned, it's a long race. These guys are just settling in. No one's really pushing the measure. No one's trying to jump anybody. It's been really nice. Actually fairly civil for drivers so far in this part of the race.
I do notice that Challenger already making good on that pace that he showed in qualifying. He's got 1.6 seconds over Kevin Ford already. Ford getting a little bit squirrely, squeezing that throttle coming out of the final corner. Doesn't quite put him under threat from Anthony Woodward, but the Bad Cactus green car is definitely keeping him in check.
Absolutely.
Breaking up into the first corner once more. They all accordion together and stretch back apart, Brian, as they head back down the hill into the S's.
Yeah, it's that rubber band I was talking about. These guys will all come at each other, and then as they come out of the corner, they all kind of string back apart. Like I said, everybody's doing a really good job right now of minding their P's and Q's. No one's really pushing it. Christian is flat out gone. In one lap, he has opened up a 2.5 second lead. Looks like my pick before the race started is looking pretty good right now.
Let's jump back to ST class because there's a challenge going on for second place once again, Sean.
Joao Freitas on the attack here on Kanchan, getting a little testy here, and really starting to work the bumper at Kanchan there. And Stevenson pulling away a little bit, starting to open it up a little bit. But Kanchan having to watch his mirror right now as Freitas is on the attack.
Seemed like it was a. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, Freitas got a little wide there, lost some ground right there.
Seemed like this quite important enough now as they break down into 12. And they still are line astern with Johnson, Spantig, and Breivogel. Now heading into the stadium section. We keep seeing Johnson just miss the apexes. Let's see if he can do a little bit better this time by. They are really hard to spot, especially one of the unique things with sim racing here, Brian. If you don't have that 3-monitor setup, some of these corners, you can't tell where the apex is.
No, it's kind of like driving at night with your headlights off, and when coming around some of these corners, and especially looking at turn 1 with the way that we've talked about already, how it goes so far up high in the elevation change, and then it drops off on the other side. It literally is a blind corner as they come around there.
Still looking at Spantig's Blackadder Motorsports, number 67. Got a decent run coming out of the final. For him to reel in George Johnson down in the first corner. And we apologize for the sound issues. I believe we are back now. Sounds like you might have missed just a little bit of the sound at the start of the broadcast. Hopefully everything is copacetic. So it looks like nothing happening here in these final 3 spots for the GS class. Let's jump back to the ST. Has anything else been going on? They certainly have been giving us lots of action, Sean. Any more challenges for the lead?
Yeah, well, not for the lead right now, but Stevenson's made his way to Freitas right now and really putting the heat on him as they head across the start-finish line, heading up the hill right here. Stevenson's got the run on Freitas, had a really good run off of 20 right there. They're climbing the hill. Freitas doing a pretty good job right there, keeping a little bit of distance. I don't think Stevenson.
Oh, there he goes.
Slow. He's diving in there.
Absolutely chucked it in. Can he get the run off the corner? Here comes Joao Freitas, absolutely right on the bumper. Tries to sneak it in, but there's no room as Stevenson shuts the door. Impressive and aggressive move from Stevenson to take that second place in the ST class here on lap 6.
Lap 6, you just said it, lap 6, and we're driving like this. I'll tell you what, we're doing it with some of the greatest drivers out here in the sim community, and they are putting on a show for you folks here in the ST class. These Mazdas are flying. You never thought a 4-banger would look so good, baby, but it's looking good today.
In the meantime, sounds like Brian spotted the battle starting to erupt in GS as well. What's going on, Brian?
Well, Steven must have just been saving something on George, because coming up through the corners there, he dove down and made that pass, finally getting around George for P5, and that just brings Jason back up into it as well. But, I mean, already since he's made the pass, he's cracked open a small lead, but when you're working around a track like this, a small lead is just what you need. Oh,
Whoa!
He's off into the grass! That's definitely a controversial line through there. I don't think it's going to work for him, but it just might.
He holds on to the position anyways with all the paved runoff. I'm sure much to the ire of traditionalists of racing. Still,
Freitas getting inside of Stevenson, taking it back.
And when it rains, it pours. Now all of a sudden battles everywhere. Stevenson takes a look on the inside down into 13. Doesn't have any room. Meanwhile, Joao Freitas goes a little bit defensive, coming down into 15. Oh, very wide there for Freitas coming around turn 15. Now they head into the triple apexer, so often compared to Turkey. And it's still Joao Freitas holding on to that second position. Stevenson, though, still within a car length, not letting him go. Going to try and get a good exit coming off of the final corner. And all this battling is allowing Sonny Cancian to increase his gap to about 1.8 seconds. James Stevenson didn't get a good exit at all, Sean.
Now, okay, but this is what Stevenson did last time. He was able to still put it inside there and make a risky move. Still, not enough. He's not close enough now. Not on that run. Freitas did have a lot better run off of turn 20 right there, but he still gets right to the bumper there. Not a bad exit off of turn 1 there.
Certainly a lot closer on the exit than he was on the entry. In the meantime, since there's no passing really through the S's, let's go to 6 in the GS class.
Yeah, I don't know what. I think George Johnson's car might not be happy at this point in the run. He has fallen back from Steven about a second and a half already, and he's coming under fire from Jason Breifogel. They've had some pretty close exchanges coming through these corners in the upper part of the track. Right now, he's kind of settled into a nice rhythm right here, but I don't know if that Mustang is to George's liking right now. Don't know how long he's going to have to hang on to that and still try to fight off Jason back there.
We just saw on his exit
catching off track, off of 1, guys.
Well, our leader is back on, though. Off of turn 1? They're on the backstretch.
No, I'm sorry, it wasn't 1.
I was going to say.
Yeah, no, it was off of 11 there. He got off course there.
So there you can see our leader with just about a almost 2-second gap over Freitas, Stevenson, and Overgaard, who are all 2, 3, and 4 together. I was going to say, before we switched over, let's stay on this in case anything erupts over here. But Brian, it looks like every time I watch George Johnson exit out of the corner, that car is just left, right, and sideways. So I'm not sure. What do you think could be causing the handling to be so poor on the exits of the corner for that car?
Well, I think that potentially when he was really running the car hard to try to hold off Stefan, he could have been burning up his stuff a little bit. And you're right, he's having a problem with the car planting the power down. Because like I said, these Mustangs can push a lot of grunt down, but getting that connected to the road is absolutely critical at this point. And it seems like off of the slow corners is where he's having his bigger issues.
A lot of the low rev engine torque on that Mustang. We're still watching James Stevenson in 3rd, and I thought he was going to get a good run on Joao Freitas down into the first corner, but as they break for it once again, Stevenson, one of the best we've seen today, and really good. Wow, Sean, that was some run up onto the back of Freitas. Holy goodness.
Man, these two are racing awful hard right now. I sure hope they give their partners a car to come home to, because right now Kanchan is the winner in all of this. He right now doing a pretty good job up there. Yeah, he got off, but he's still got that distance between him because these two are just in a dogfight right now. Freitas and Stevenson really putting on a show in the early stages of this race.
Well, there may be only 15 cars out on track, but we are getting a lot of excitement with what little there is. Quality over quantity, and here comes Stevenson down into 11. Is he going to attempt the pass, or is he going to save it for the backstretch? He looks to the inside, down into the braking, and gets it done, but is the over-under coming back at him? No. Nothing doing for Joao Freitas and the number 426 or number 449, but he does have the draft.
Yeah, Stevenson was impatient there for a couple of laps. You could see he was really just gritting his teeth and looked for that opportunity. Got it. But here comes Joao Freitas. Here he comes.
Looking to the outside, that's a lapped car that they're working their way past. That's Matthew Reinhold, who had the troubles earlier. Stevenson defends into 12. Freitas can't get the over-under once again, so he is back down into 3rd.
No shortage of action here, sir. Not at all. Great battle for 2nd and 3rd. And, hats off to Stefan Overgaard, doing a really nice job still. Really looking consistent right now. Just a rock of consistency. He's really not losing these guys at all. He's just carefully watching, keeping the car out of trouble, and not using anything up right now.
Now, even though there aren't a lot of cars on track, this series does, with 2 classes, tend to have lap traffic to deal with. Brian, it sounds like that might come into play soon.
It's going to come into play here pretty quick for Christian, and now we're going to really see what he can do and how good that car is. Andreas, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last. Thank you for bailing me out there. He is really only about 10 seconds, and maybe not even that, in front of our leader right now. So I think what we're going to find is we're really gonna find out just how good that Blackadder Motorsports car is, having to deal with, the line that he's running and trying to navigate some of these slower cars.
And with a 10-second gap, the cars are about 10 seconds apart between the leaders and qualifying time, so we should see him close in pretty soon here. But meanwhile, we've jumped back to 6 because Jason Breifel is still hassling Johnson as they head through the technical stadium section. Not close enough, about 7/10 back to try and execute a pass through this slower portion, but giving him something to think about.
Yeah, he's definitely keeping the pressure up right now. Wow, that was a really close exchange through there. I think at this point, it almost looks like George is potentially hanging on for that first round of pit stops whenever their team has that strategy mapped out for him. Because that car just still is not happy. Either that or their long run setup might not be the best. But he's hanging on right now.
That'll be Zach Rupchik that he is handing over to. They need to do 45 minutes for these cars for the driver to get points. So with only, let's see, about 23 minutes into the race, not quite time to hand over yet. We've switched over to our ST class with Stevenson still in second, goes slightly defensive and then comes back to the line here, down in 12. And Joao Freitas doesn't have an answer for him at this point.
No, he doesn't, but trust me, he's really not giving up the fight here. It's really been just a real battle at every turn. Freitas will get right up on him, maybe lose a little bit, and then get right back up on him again, as you're seeing right here. Overguard closing the distance a little bit on these guys, benefiting from some draft. But, yeah, the fight is still on here between Stevenson and Joao Freitas right now.
Meanwhile, just up ahead, you can see just how far Sonny Cancian is as Joao takes a little bit of a look through the triple apexer, but once again, no place to pass there. Sonny Cancian, 3-second lead already. So he is starting to stretch away. This is helping him by leaps and bounds. This battle going on.
Contact! Freitas and Stevenson!
Freitas gets it, Stevenson gets it turned around, keeps going. He's a little ways back, but Freitas is able to continue as well. Let's see if we can see what kind of damages there is on the rear where he made that contact. Looks like it was slight enough. I didn't see anything from that camera angle. Oh, and it's on the front, it looks like, of Stevenson.
Yeah, Stevenson's got a little bit of damage on the left front. On the left rear. That's where the contact was as we look at this on the replay right there. And I didn't get quite a good shot of it there at the point of contact. But as you can see, he may not be too happy about that. That was a pretty bold move down there, Joe.
And Stevenson... Oh, we're watching that replay once again. I was going to say he was under threat. Let's see what happens here. It looks like he was just off the apex. I don't think Freitas expected that. Oh, and there was a little nudge as well from his teammate Stefan Overgaard as he came through, just turned him the rest of the way around. But Sean, you don't say. James Stevenson upset with one of the 49 drivers. That never happens, does it?
No, never, never, no. Hey, I'm sure the Christmas cards are really nice every year.
As we go back live now on Stevenson, he has slipped down to 4th. And I'm wondering if that contact with the damage on his car is going to hurt his aerodynamics enough that he's going to start losing time on these guys. I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on that, Sean.
Not too much damage on the left rear, but man, this is an aero track for sure. And he's lost those guys in front of him. Going to be really hard to make up ground right now unless, those guys mess it up a little bit in front of him. But he's got a lot of work to do right now. Still plenty of time to get it done.
We are understanding that the contact with Overgaard might be what caused that damage on the front. We're not sure if his engine has damage from that. It was just a slightest nudge, so I wouldn't think it would hurt him too badly. In the meantime, I do see that Andres Velgemude, sitting in, I believe that's 7th in class, in the ST class, is being overtaken by the GS cars there, Brian.
I'm sorry, I've been focusing on Jeff Jacobs here as he's been running through the race. He's been making grounds on Anthony here in the last couple laps. Even got down inside of him here. in the last couple sections. But just slowly but surely he's been chipping away. So I wonder if the good feel on them Continental tires are getting away from Anthony as well.
Here we ride on the roll bar of Andres as he was lapped by Jeff Jacobs. Jacobs currently only about a second behind Woodward, who is in the Bad Cactus Green machine. Closing up now for the braking for 15. You know, if I have one complaint about these new tracks, especially American tracks, Brian, it's that they would put some names on these corners.
Yeah, I mean, there's not, I mean, like Imola over in Italy, every corner has a name on it. And it seems like, I don't know if maybe it's just the track owners or the promoters that don't want to maybe even pay any kind of royalties fees. I don't know, but I've been surprised before in my life. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these corners that could get some great names. I mean, come on, it's an American Formula One track. We need an Andretti corner.
All
Absolutely.
right, guys, it's only been here for 4 years. Give us a little time. We're working on it, all right? We're working on it, all right?
Sean always the CoTA apologist, right?
Absolutely, man. I love this place, man. Hey, and for you concert fans, great place to see a show.
Meanwhile, we're watching George Johnson, who is currently behind Jason Breifel. There must have been a pass recently that we missed. Where did that one happen? I'm going to go back a little bit, see if I can figure out where he finally got past him. It looks like that was on the backstretch. I'm not sure if that's recent enough that we could get a replay of that pass. That's been working its way for some time. Johnson's holding on, you can see, as we ride on his roof right now.
I mean, I can't say that we didn't see it coming, but we completely kind of missed where it actually happened. I was focused on that battle for third and completely lost track of what was going on back here. I mean, you're watching George, just the fact of where that car is running, and you're just watching that slip away. I mean, you have to think he's begging for a pit stop. Maybe he's trying to talk to his strategist and say, hey guys, we can make this in another stop. We'll make it work. I'm
sure that they're furiously trying to scribble some notes on some paper somewhere, his teammate is, to try and figure out what they can make happen, because they, like you said, just going downhill in a hurry. And at this point, if you don't have the speed, the only thing you can rely on is some strategy luck. He's currently already a second back from Breifogel. You can just see him start to stretch away down the backstretch.
He is out of DRS range.
Oh, I'm sure he would love some DRS right now in that machine.
He'd probably love another 100 horsepower right now as well.
Now, something that we were just talking about, the gap when the action at the top of ST started to unfold. Because of that contact that slowed Joao Freitas and Stefan Overgaard down a bit, Sean, that gap is increased, almost doubled since I last looked at it.
Yeah, Sonny really opening it up right now. Enjoying that clean air up there and just having a lot of fun driving around this tricky course here in Austin, Texas. And got to be honest with you, Overgaard been pretty aggressive here. Not quite to him right now, but they've been battling a little bit. Overgaard doing a good job of getting himself up to Freitas. Overgaard had, we saw that what looked like contact there with Stevenson, but I got to tell you, the car doesn't look any worse for the wearer. He's actually looking really strong right now.
Well, with you being a Texan, you'll have to use your influence on some of these corner names, Sean. Maybe suggest some things like Barbecue Bend, or I don't know. Maybe the S's could be like the Cattle Trail or something.
Well, I don't want to get too stereotypical with it, but you know what? I'm gonna do what I like to call yellow pad it. I'm gonna get the old legal pad out, and I'm gonna start jotting some names down, come up with some ideas myself, and see if we can inject a little flavor here into this great track in the great state of Texas.
All right.
I would say look no further than AJ Foyt. Isn't he a native Texan?
Oh, there you go.
He certainly is, and one heck of a guy, too. I'll tell you what, AJ certainly would have loved to have wheeled it around this track. Unfortunately, not doing any driving anymore, but still kicking alive and well, and a big fan of this track.
Not sure that he could fit in too many cockpits anymore, unfortunately.
I guess nobody likes any jokes about his weight then. All right then.
Oh no!
So on board
we laid out on you on that one there, Joe. Sorry about
that. We're on board with Stefan Oegaard right now, who was pretty close to Joao Freitas. Stefan looking at a podium position. Maybe he wants one more though before this is done. We just completed our first half hour into this 2.5 hour race. He's lost a little bit of ground on the Portuguese driver. Talk about an international series. We have a Danish driver sitting in third, Portuguese driver sitting in second. You move up to first, you have an Australian. They come from all over for the Conti series.
An Australian who's probably hungry, wants to have a little bit of breakfast. It's, I believe, about 8:30. Yeah, just right about 8 o'clock in the morning right now.
probably a little grumpy that he's missing Bathurst right now, too.
Yeah, well, his partner's not, so he's taking one for the team today, Joe.
The drivers are allowed to do a solo race. They have to do a pit stop that lasts more than 30 seconds to count as a simulated driver change. So Sonny Kanchan will have to do that out there in the number 74. I don't think he's under any threat. 7 seconds now. He's added another second to that lead gap. Both of our leaders in both classes looking very dominant early on. But as we've said, as Brian said at the top of the broadcast, it's a long race. You don't know what can happen.
Yeah, well, Sonny's banking time right now, obviously. I mean, you know he's got to take a little bit longer pit stop there because of the driver change. And right now, every bit of time he can put on those guys is going to help him out.
Closest battle on track right now that I can see looks to be Jonathan Auger trying to chase down Chris Hewson, and they've actually got a bit of action between them. That's Anthony Wood.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step over you, but we're kind of having... I've been watching this battle here, and finally Anthony gets clear of it. But he has been getting held up from Chris Houston there. And it was allowing Jeff Jacobs to pull right up. I mean, there was no... Anthony tried 2 or 3 times to try to get around him, and he just could not find a way. Now that he's back out in open track, he's stepping it out quite clearly. But it was kind of a interclass rivalry we had going on there.
And as you were talking, Jonathan Auger took advantage of Houston actually slowing down to let the faster class by, and Auger is now up into 5th in class with that move. Opportunistic stuff.
Really is. Auger taking advantage of that situation for sure.
That leaves our current closest battle now. Stefan Oegaard still trying to chase down Joao Freitas for that second position, about a second behind the Portuguese driver. We are going to go to a quick break. We'll come back after a little bit. Hopefully we'll be back just in time for pit stops to happen. First stops of 2 we expect, and we'll be back on the other side. Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas, the penultimate round of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, and you were watching during break this battle for second place. Stefan Overgaard successfully overtaking Freitas and now starting to leave him in the dust, and just in the middle of that, throwing a wrench in the system, Brian, was the leader, Christian Challoner.
Yeah, it was really exciting to watch this giant Mustang come lumbering up on these little Mazdas. And yeah, I mean, he definitely took the opportunity to get around him, but Christian definitely had his hands full there. I think it's worth noting, I mean, he's got a 9-second lead, but if we keep this as a food for thought as the rest of the night goes on, he's having problems navigating lap traffic. Now, if he's catching him on these technical spots, that's where it's the hindrance. When he's catching them on the back stretch or the front stretch, he's just absolutely motoring away. But this is not the first time that I've watched the leader get caught up behind a slower Mazda.
And it could definitely put some battles into play depending on how close you are to the car in front, which is reason to never give up for sure as we continue to watch Overgaard here. And the only plus I would say for someone like Christian Challoner, though, is if they do get into contact with these cars, at least they're probably going to come out the better one in the scuffle.
Yeah, the Mustang's definitely going to be the one walking away unhurt. But you never know with the way that these race cars are built. It could just take the right amount of impact, and all of a sudden you have to go to pit road for for the meatball flag, as us racers call it in iRacing.
The orange and black flag. It's a black flag with an orange circle in the middle of it. Well known to racers, much despised by racers, especially iRacers, as you mentioned. Still watching our leader, Christian Challoner, who has increased that lead now up to 9.5 seconds. And he's just about to put a lap on our leader in the ST class, Sonny Canchin. And they are only just about 45 minutes in. They're about 40 minutes in at the moment. So we could be seeing driver swaps happening soon. Fortunately, we didn't get too many fuel numbers, unless either of you know how far these guys are able to go today.
Wow, Freitas, guys, I got to break in here real quick. He's been dropping like a rock, man. A little bit of damage on the front end. Didn't catch exactly what happened there, but he was really loose just there a second ago. Stevenson has moved up ahead of him in the third. And again, right now, Freitas having trouble hanging onto that car. I'm in fear that he might have made the tires just a little angry on that car, but up front, Canchin still just walking away from everybody right now. About 10 seconds to the good, and he lets that GS traffic by, and looking pretty good here. Canchin looked just really strong as our leader, and like you talked about that driver change, remember, Canchin doesn't get one. He's flying solo today, so he's going to have to take that longer pit stop either here or on the next one. So we'll see which strategy plays out for him here first.
Now, remember what Richard said at the top of the broadcast. He predicted that they were not concerned with Joao Freitas, who was on the pole. And look at it now. I can just see the smile on Richard's face at the moment if he was able to see this, because all three AMS cars, before 45 minutes have gone by, have already overtaken our pole sitter, Sean.
Yeah, they have, and they're pulling away. They're putting the distance on them. Like I said, Freitas' car right now not perfect, and he's got Matthew Reinhold right behind him, which is several laps down behind him. But Freitas is definitely off pace now. He's lost that fight up front, and boy, an amazing pit strategy is what they're going to need to get back to the leaders right now. Doing so well there, and then all of a sudden something happens, and your luck runs out on you there, Joe.
Well, speaking of luck running out, the closest battle that I can see on track is about a second between Jeff Jacobs and Anthony Woodward. Jacobs has been the man on the move. He qualified in third, but he must have slipped a little bit farther down in the field, because right now he's sitting in fourth, and we've been seeing him try to work his way back up through. Now, what are his lap times? I'm not sure if you've been watching this, Brian, if you have any information on what kind of pace he's running comparatively.
I have been. He's been running down. Anthony little bit by little bit. I mean, in particular, his last lap was about a second quicker. Now you see that gap is absolutely evaporated up to Anthony. Now we're going to have to see where Jeff might be able to make that overtake through these really tricky parts of the track.
Now, Jeff Jacobs is a driver that has come good in the last year since last season. He used to be one of the mid-pack / back markers, as actually Anthony even goes defensive there down into turn 11. And I think a good run should do it here for Jeff Jacobs with the pace that he's got as we ride on his roof. But I was going to say, Jeff Jacobs has absolutely found the speed, and I don't think he's going to be worried at all once his teammate Wyatt Gooden jumps in, who's known to be one of the fastest drivers on the entire iRacing service. And with these guys fighting for the championship, in fact, I think they're pretty high up in the points. I wonder if this is going to seal the deal for them, or if they're maybe looking to try and wrap up the championship here.
Yeah, it's really worth noting. I think Anthony is the old expression is, I think he's sitting on the hot stove and trying to sweat ice water. Every single corner, he has taken a very, very defensive line into the corner. Jeff has been running his line absolutely fine, lap in and lap out, corner in and corner out. But I think it's worth watching. Anthony is really taking a defensive stance here.
He's trying to hold on to that position. Well off the apex, much closer for Jeff Jacobs, but still not close enough to try and make a move. Not really a good idea to try and pass into here. Gonna wait, get a good exit out of the final corner to climb up the hill, but both of them got on the power just about equally, so I'm not sure he's gonna have the chance as they climb the hill.
And now they're coming into the tricky turn 1. Once again, a defensive line. Jeff really took it wide, trying to get a nice run off, and you see a little bit of tire wiggle, or the back end of the car wiggle from Anthony there. Jeff is really putting it on. I think he's been saving his stuff throughout most of this run, or at least trying to figure out a way to keep everything in balance. It's a hot day. You're watching the dynamic track starting to weather in. If you looking through some of the corners, there's a very dark shade and a very clear racing line that has started to emerge. So now the track might be changing a little bit. Doesn't matter for Christian. He's now checked out by 12.5 seconds. But I think this track now is starting to work into Jeff's favor. And kind of as you mentioned, now he goes to hand off to his teammate. Here we go again. He's going to take a defensive line. Let's see how this one comes out on the other side. Takes it really wide. Tries to get the power down, mash that loud pedal, but Anthony is just able to squeak away again.
He definitely had a big squirm coming out of turn 11, though. That was set up coming out of 9 with a great run by Jacobs. This time he is right on that rear spoiler, closes in. Is he going to look? No. He elects not. He could have had a great opportunity into there, and he backs off of it.
I think he backed off because there's a lap car right up ahead, and now the lap car takes a very, gets well clear out of the way. Kudos to them. But if he would have made that move, that would have put him 3 wide with the lap car, and I don't think he wanted to do that.
That was Ernest Pretorius of SAR Racing, who got out of the way. And, kudos to Jeff. He is playing that endurance racing mindset. He knows if he's got better pace than the car in front, he's going to get more opportunities. There's still an hour and 42 minutes left to go.
Absolutely. When you got that much time to go, you just have to make sure that the car isn't going to come back in one piece, because it's like the old racing expression, to finish first, one must first finish.
Always a good one to go by. Certainly has helped me to a win or two over the years, especially since I don't have the speed. Now heading down into the final corner. Jacobs might have taken just a little bit of a peek. He's much closer, but it looks like once again a good run by Woodward coming out of the final turn. Now climbing up the hill into 1. Let's see what he can do in the hairpin.
I think the key difference in this battle is Anthony's car is better at getting out of the corners, and Jeff's car is better at getting in. I think that's how we keep seeing him be able to squeak out maybe a tenth or two out of the corner, but it keeps Jeff behind him just enough to where he doesn't really feel like that's much of a threat behind him.
Yeah, he's certainly doing a great job. Yeah, we have to give credit to Anthony. I thought this was going to be a done deal in maybe a lap or two, but he's still holding him back. He has gone defensive a few times, but it's just been great racing, been cool under pressure here with the bad Cactus Green machine. They're going to have one more lap car. That's Sonny Cancian, our leader in the ST class. Oh! Big squirm from Anthony Woodward coming out of 9, but this time he's able to keep the power down.
Okay, forget what I said about getting out of the corners. Fine, that car was all over the place coming out of that corner.
I don't know how he managed to hold a gap. It looked like the car was almost sideways coming out of there.
I think
And
that's just pure driving talent right there. That is, Anthony is working so hard to keep Jeff behind him, because I think, as you were saying, Anthony knows that the guy that's going to step into that car is going to be equal to or better than the guy that's in there right now. So he's doing everything he can to maintain that gap.
I think he's got lead weights in the trunk or something. The way that he's able to get grip when a car is just wiggling all over the place. He's opened up the gap. What used to be almost half a second is now a second, more than a second, between himself and Jacobs.
This car wasn't put together by Smokey Unick's garage, was it? There's no lead buckshot falling out of it anywhere.
That's a good one.
I don't know, though. I'm not sure if they can do that digitally, but I'm sure the marshals will be taking a look at it after the race. Look at the gap; it's growing once again. He's found his legs. He's starting to get away from Jacobs.
Well, by running that defensive line, I think that he made Jeff burn his stuff up a little bit. So now Jeff's tires aren't as happy, and when you make these tires unhappy, they will definitely let you know that they are not happy.
Now up to 1.7 seconds. Jeff Jacobs is going to have to get some flowers, get some chocolates, and try and woo those tires to get back into the optimal temperature and try and catch Anthony Woodward, and get on that podium. Now as they head down into the S's, he's managed to close it in down to about 1.5 seconds, so a couple tenths chopped off in that first corner.
I don't know if anything short of Barry Manilow is going to swoosh or make those tires come back to happy.
Great references here by Brian. I guess, where else are you going to hear Barry Manilow and Smokey Unick both referenced in the same broadcast within like a minute of each other?
Only here on GSRC.
Hey, we still got a lot of time. I'm a creative mindset. We'll come up with a couple more.
Still an hour and 38 minutes left on the clock. Still nobody has taken their first stops. Let me double check to see if anybody has pitted. Only car I've seen who has come in and stopped is Ernest Pretorius at the moment.
Yeah, and Ernest had trouble early. He's off pace right now, to be quite honest. So, yeah, I don't know that car is going to be a factor today. But tell you who might be a factor before this is all over and done with, Joe. James Stevenson right now turning some pretty good laps. He's still got a ways to go to catch second place, but he's working on it.
I'm sorry, I have to update myself. Joao Freitas has stopped, and Benjamin Lanouette is getting into the car right now. And it sounds like we got GS pit stops happening as well, Brian.
Absolutely. In Slow Johnson Racing, we now have Zach Rupkick in the car. And for 49, well, that might be a ST car, now that I think about it.
That's an ST car.
My camera is above the pit stall, so
I'm having the same problem. Yeah. I know which car is an ST car, thankfully. So Benjamin Lanouette is sitting in the car. Now, do they have they've been in there since before George Johnson was coming into the pits, so did they have some trouble? I'm wondering. I'm going to rewind and see if maybe something happened to the 49 Motorsports E-Machine, because they've been in there a long time. We're hearing they've been in there for 9 minutes. Something must have happened. Going back and looking. Oh, they blew an engine! They blew an engine downshifting up the hill. Sean, we mentioned it at the top of the broadcast, and commentators' curse come true.
Those shift points so important, man, and especially coming up that hill right there, looking on screen, watching Sonny Cancian there make the climb up, and man, you gotta be careful, man. Really, boy, what a tough break for those guys.
Right on cue, we get a note from race control that it was a blown engine on lap 18. So I figured it out a little bit ahead of time, but still always glad for race control and their cooperation and feeding us information. But let's go to Brian once again, because we got a battle in that GS class.
I don't know if these two guys have magnets in their cars or something, but Jeff Jacobs has absolutely ran him back down again, so maybe he did play a little bit of Barry Manilow in the car, because now those tires are singing, and he has now closed the gap down to half a second to Anthony. Also, it looks like Stefan has been on pit road as well, but I'm keeping more of my eye on this battle, because out of nowhere I was keeping my eye on the intervals, and it was starting to close in again.
Jacobs' tires strike me more as a Marvin Gaye type of wheel, actually.
Hey, it's doing the job.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, wait, we're in Texas, so they may even be a Conway Twitty.
Oh, there you go. There, we're watching from the rear spoiler of Woodward, and you can see just how much Jacobs has closed back in, now up to 0.8 of a second, as they get closer through the technical portion of the stadium section. A difficult double apexer right here. Very easy to go wide on that corner. I know you love this track so much, Sean. If I had any complaint besides the lack of the names, it's definitely that stadium section. It is just maddening to try and get right through there.
It certainly is, man. I mean, it's almost unacceptable. I mean,
both of them are pitting.
Let's see who can get in most efficiently. Jacobs right on the rear of him. These cars do not have pit limiters. Let's see who comes out in front. Woodward enters in third. Jeff Jacobs enters in fourth.
Also of note, Christian has been on pit road, and Kevin Ford is also on pit road as well, as we've been keeping our eye on this battle.
Marco Luca Abate has chopped into that car. Liam Hackwith is getting into the KLM racing machine, and Marco is now taking off and heading out. He still holds on to the lead, has not given it up yet. Meanwhile, Wyatt Gooden has hopped into Anthony Woodward's car, Jeff Jacobs' car, the Torque Chicken racing machine. And Elliot Mimi is getting into the Bad Cactus Green machine. Wyatt Gooden accelerating away and isn't able to jump him. But we have two new drivers. Let's see what these guys' pace are like.
Yeah, and it seems like as they come out of there, so I had to change my camera. We come back out, Elliot Meme back in there now, Wyatt Gooden, and they're right about the same gap that they were coming back out. Pit stop time, they were separated by 1/10, a 31.5 to a 31.6. Doesn't really get much closer than that.
Really nothing lost between them. They were both on it when they came in. It was about 0.8, and right now Gooden is about 0.8 behind Mimi. But as they work their way up the hill, up through the S's, another important part where you have to just nail the line as you head through there. Wow,
and
look at the run.
He missed the line, and now Wyatt is all over the back of him. They're coming down into the corner. Wyatt has the preferred line. I don't see much of a fight here from Mimi, and Wyatt has now pulled out. And now you have to. And I almost feel gutted for that team, because they spent such a good run keeping Jeff behind them, and in half of a lap, now Wyatt has pulled back out in front with that Torque Chicken Mustang.
I don't think Elliott's given up quite yet, still holding on to about half a second. We're going to have to see what the pace is like. They're going to have to also navigate around James Stevenson and lap him. Coming up, wow, Gooden going all the way off track, using up everything and then some.
Well, that's definitely one way to take that corner. We've seen it work earlier this race.
As they close in on Stevenson's MX-5. This is definitely MX-5 territory. Those little cars like the twisty bits much more than the big heavy Mustangs. And they accelerate through the triple apexer. It's going to close in as the speed starts to come back to Gooden. looks to the inside, and he's going to be able to put Stevenson between them.
I've been watching Stevenson work with traffic. I got to be honest with you, he's been very racy with the traffic. Doesn't enjoy giving up those spots to those guys. See right here, he's got a little bit of a fight on his hands right there with Elliot Mimi.
Mimi looking to the right, then looking to the left, and finally working his way past. But unfortunately, the damage is done. Now 1.5 seconds between Mimi and Gooden.
Nice pick there by Stevenson.
Undoubtedly. So let's run through the order of our field since we haven't in a while, and I believe pit stop should be done at least for our GS class. Marco Luca Abate leads with the Blackadder Motorsports number 66 machine. Liam Hackwith is in second with KLM Racing. Wyatt Gooden has worked his way onto the podium finally for the Torque Chicken Racing car. Elliot Mimi demoted down to fourth in the last lap. Jason Breifogel is currently sitting in fifth. John King has hopped into the Blackadder Motorsports number 67 car and is in sixth. And Zach Rupchik rounds out the field with rounds out GS field rather, with Slow Johnson Racing. What's ST class looking like there, Sean?
Well, Joe, ST class. Now these guys, they haven't pitted yet. We haven't seen any driver swaps quite yet. Right now, sitting in the ST class, you've got Sonny Canchin still with a death grip on this race right now. Sitting in second, Stefan Overgaard in the second Asbury Motorsports entry there. And in third, Asbury Motorsports, James Stevenson still hanging on. Still continues to run some pretty good laps around here, a little bit faster than his teammate there, Overgaard. So good battle to keep watching. Turn 2 Motorsports, Jonathan Auger right now, he sits in fourth. The 49 Motorsports A entry, Chris Hewson hanging in there in fifth. SAR Racing, Ernest Pretorius is currently sitting in sixth. BWR still on the track, 4 laps down right now. He's working hard. Matthew Reinhold. And rounding out the field, the 49 Motorsports E entry. We talked about that blown motor. They are unfortunately going to be in the pits for quite a while there, Joe.
Wondering if they're even going to elect to get back out on the track, since there isn't really, they're going to have to hope for somebody else running into a lot of trouble to try and get just a single position back. Now, talking about Stevenson, as we watch Canchin being overtaken there by one of the GS class cars. Now, Stevenson is not slow. He's an incredibly fast driver, but we've seen his teammate, Tomoki Kono, put on some incredible bouts of speed. So, I don't know, do you think the bullet train can try and salvage something more than a third place out there? Or what do you think, Sean?
I'll tell you what, I'm imagining Tomoki's probably got about his second cup of coffee in him. He's ready for this driver swap coming in, and he's going to look to make up that time. Car's got good speed. We've seen it. Stevenson really running some great times still deep into this stint, and yeah, I'm sure Tomoki is fired up and ready to go early morning for him, and we'll see him display his craft out here today, and I look to see that car back up towards the front here. Now, they've got a lot of work to do, but it's not impossible.
Well, I'm sad to say our closest battle at the moment is 5 seconds apart. That is Gooden and Mimi, and we know that Gooden is stretching away from him after a decisive pass on the outlap. And actually, that's a really important thing that we should talk about, Brian, is the fact that he made that decisive pass so early. I mean, that's 5 seconds that he could have lost at this point if he hadn't have done that on his way out.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a risky maneuver, especially being on cold tires, coming out of the pits, especially with a driver swap. You're not into your rhythm yet. Road racing is very, very rhythm-based. In a battle for position, the gamble that he made has absolutely paid off for Wyatt. Now that car has stepped away from 5 seconds away from Mimi, and I've been watching. And there's still plenty of race left, but I've been watching, and Wyatt's lap times are actually faster than the leaders right now. The last lap by, it was by about 1.5 seconds. Now still, there's 13 seconds on the track that he has to make up, but we still have just under an hour and a half left in this race.
13 seconds up to second place Liam Hackwith in the KLM Racing Machine. 26 up to Marco Luca Abate.
Yeah, yep.
Stevenson just had some trouble, got in hot to turn 13, really had to get on the binders and practically came to a full stop on the track. He almost ran it off, but got the car stopped down. Lost a lot of time right there. Overgaard continues to just get away.
That gap between Stevenson and his teammate Overgaard about 14 seconds now.
Yeah, that was a really, really costly mistake there.
Curious to see. I really want to see what is going to happen once they come in for pit stops. They are just about 65 minutes into this race. So usually we've seen these ST cars go, about between 60 and 65? So I think we're going to be seeing them pretty soon.
Yeah, I've got my eyes on Kanchan. I'm watching what Sonny's going to do here. He's got 25 laps on the car right now. Definitely the car is freed up a lot. You see that. He's exploring the boundaries of the track maybe just a little bit more right now, Joe.
All that paved runoff and that AstroTurf allows them to just kind of go about as wide as they want. However, they do get bonus points or penalty points based on incident points. Now, when we talk about incident points, Brian, explain to our audience what we mean for those not familiar with iRacing.
Well, incident points is a system that iRacing has implemented to try to keep you honest as a driver. And the rating system goes from a 0x, which sometimes is just slight contact with your competitors, to a 1x, which is typically reserved for off-track. So as these guys are coming through some of these corners and they dip two wheels off of what iRacing considers an acceptable margin of error, you'll receive a 2x penalty for that, and then you get your 4x for running into your fellow competitors on the track, and sometimes you can even get a phantom 4x. Ask any iRacer. The system isn't 100% perfect, but it works very, very well at what it's intended to do, and it's intended to stop people from corner cutting lap in and lap out, intentionally dumping someone out there on the track. The system really does a good job of kind of keeping everybody honest to an extent.
Now, unfortunately, in league racing, which we're watching right now, this is not official iRacing racing. This is a group of guys that just get together and decide that they want to run together in a specific set of rules. The incident points don't count towards anything other than just being informational, obviously. So what this league has done is they've employed bonus points or penalty points based on your corners per incident. So that's what these guys have as far as incentive goes to try and keep it on the track, despite the fact that this is something considered a bit of a parking lot track, as they call them, with these new courses that have a lot of paved runoff.
Yeah, and food for thought also, most leagues, or most of your standard official iRating races, there is an incident limit within each room. Varies on road courses versus ovals. It's typically ranges between 14 and 22x. This league has a no cap on there, so you can rack up a 25x if you want to, but I'm sure that the points penalty that would hand your way because of that would not be worth it at all.
Yes, drivers such as Sonny Kanchan and Stefan Overgaard and James Stevenson fighting for this championship want to try and keep it as clean as possible, especially Stevenson, who I believe last I looked was actually behind Kono in the points. Now, unfortunately, we don't have that updated, so I don't know exactly where he stands, but it was very, very close. And with those two being teammates, it could come down, Sean, to those incident points deciding who is champion between them this season.
It really could, and so that was an interesting thing we talk about. It's kind of funny, Joe. You made me think of that song, something about they paved paradise and made it a parking lot. It's pretty funny, actually. But Kanchan right now still keeping it out there. So right now the ST class still just staying out there a little bit longer and pushing it to the limits here. It looks like be interesting to see. how far they can actually stretch it right now. They're working Kanchan working lap 26 right now.
And that tells you how long this track is. Lap 26, and they're over an hour into this race. They've been doing about 2:37, 2:38 laps. 2 minutes, 37 seconds, by the way. So, and let's see, does he come in? No, he still stays out this time by, does Sonny Kanchan. He's running that thing down to fumes, it seems like.
To quote one of my favorite movies, Dodgeball, that's a bold strategy for him, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
Excellent reference there. And Kanchan, that gap now is up to 21 seconds between himself and his teammate, Stefan Overgaard. Kanchan is just absolutely schooling this field on this track.
Yeah, well, he's just about made up that, that bit of a penalty he's got to take there in time for the driver change.
Should be well and clear. Now, thankfully, at least for him, it's not technically a penalty. It's just simply evening things out so that he's on equal footing with the other drivers. Everybody else takes 30 seconds to make a driver swap, so he's just going to have to go through the same process. Now, from what we understand, actually, the cars, if they fill up fully, which he probably will on this stop, the cars take more than 30 seconds to take their normal stop anyway, so it's a bit of a moot point, but at least they're ensuring that everybody plays fair out there.
Yeah, and, I said penalty, certainly not a penalty, but 30 seconds nonetheless, and he has made it up. So, great run now. Overgaard still showing really good pace deep into this run. Of course, everybody behind our leader is still out on the track, have not come in yet. A couple of them have, but not any of the leaders right now. But Asbury Motorsports still has the top three locked down. Stevenson in third, Overgaard in second, and, pretty much since we got started, Sonny Kanchan still up there on point.
Now, if they can go to an hour and 15, that's the halfway point of this race. And they could make it a one-stopper. We've seen these ST cars attempt that before, Sean.
We have, and you know what? I'm starting, Joe. It's a really good point for you to bring up right now. I was just starting to think about that. We're in that window right now. We're in that window where if they kept it out for just another lap and a half, a full 2 laps, they're in the window to go to halfway.
Now, I do see that we have one of our previous drivers in the Bad Cactus Green Machine sitting in our interview room. Why don't we bring Anthony Woodward in here, talk to him about how his stint went and what he thinks about that pass over Elliot Mimi. Let's see if we can bring Anthony in here. Anthony, it's Joe Peak with GSRC. Do you have us?
Yeah, hey guys, good to speak to you.
Anthony, you were doing a great job holding down that podium position, and I'm sure it was a little gutting to see Elliot lose that within the first lap out of the pits there.
Yeah, a little. We kind of knew it was coming because it's Wyatt Gooden. That's why I was just working so hard to try and keep Jeff behind. Had to go defensive a couple of times, but I think he backed off. I think he knew he was just doing a job to provide the car to Wyatt, and he didn't need to do much more. But I'd just like to give a shout to Phil Carpenter because the setup on our car is so sweet, and he's responsible for all that as usual.
Yeah, we noticed that you seem to actually do a good job of getting out of the corners. Would you attribute that to the setup? Does it feel pretty good on corner exit? Yeah,
definitely. There's something we were working on. It wasn't so good, and we just said it wasn't so good, and Phil changed it. That's how good he is.
Well, do you think that fourth is about the best you guys can do today for the Bad Cactus Green Machine, or do you have expectations for anything higher? What's the game plan?
Hopefully staying fourth. I mean, other than that, we're going to be hoping for problems off people, so we don't like to do that.
Yeah, never good to wish ill on your competitors, although I'm sure we certainly wouldn't turn it down if somebody has an issue along the way. Thanks for coming and talking to us, Anthony, and hopefully Elliot is able to bring home that fourth place you guys are shooting for.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Great job on the broadcast. Maybe a flock of geese or some crossing ducks across the track. Something might be good.
You'll have to talk to the marshals on that one. I'm not sure that we can do anything on that case.
Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks for the broadcast. I really enjoy them.
That was Anthony Woodward, who drives for Bad Cactus Racing Green Team, the number 325 machine out there, currently 4th on track.
You know, Sean, we're in Texas. I keep seeing these birds fly over. Come on, we got to do something.
Yeah, a lot of bird migration through this state, and you will see them fly over here for sure.
Also, guys, food for thought. We've talked about what kind of a hot shoe Wyatt Gooden is. His gap he's cut 6 seconds out of his gap to second place. So now the gap up to the lead is actually down to 18 seconds. Lap in and lap out, Wyatt is running consistently 1 second faster than our leader Marco. And I've been kind of doing some calculating here. They're 8 laps into this run right now, with about the last run, pretty much everybody ran 22 laps. If he keeps on this pace, he's definitely going to get around Liam in second, and it's definitely going to set up a very interesting end to this race.
We look forward to that for sure. And I was actually trying to think of some of the math myself there, because right now I was watching Sonny Canchin, and the clock just ticked past 1:15. Now, Canchin still hasn't stopped. In fact, nobody else besides Ernest Pretorius has stopped yet in the ST class. So all of these guys are attempting a one-stop as far as we can tell, because if they stop at the end of this lap, they can go all the way to the end if they were on the same pace.
Yeah, exactly, and I think we could see it here. Canchin right now, again, put a lot of distance between himself and the rest of this ST field. Looking good. He's got just a little bit to go here to get to that pit lane, and we'll see here, but this would be the opportune time. Like you talked about a minute ago, Joe, he's got to be just running on fumes at this point.
If only we could look and see. Oh, and he had a bit of a blink. That's just his internet connection going out for a brief moment. But looks like it was just a single blink, so he should be okay. But yes, if only iRacing would allow us to see what his fuel numbers are looking like right now.
As we get ready to see him go through the stadium section here, that triple apexer that we talked about earlier, Joe, just not a real fit.
Oh, we lost Sean for a second there.
Can you hear me now?
Now we got you.
Sorry about that. As he heads through the stadium turn right now, we talked about it earlier, just how it's just not a really fair turn. But if you can set your car up to travel well through there, man, you're going to have a big advantage on everybody. And Canchin has just seemed to really manage that stadium turn real well today as he heads to turn 20 and back up the front straightaway, opting not to go into the pits. I expect everybody else will stay out behind.
Wow. I thought for sure, since we're past the halfway point, he would just go and refuel. But this is an interesting strategy. I did not think that these cars would be able to go this long. They must spend a decent portion of the lap not at full throttle.
Yeah, and when Canchin's had no drafting help at all.
And Beauregard is in. Meanwhile, Stevenson coming around to pit entry. Is he going to go in? Yes, Stevenson is in. So our leader stays out, but our next 2 AMS cars decides to come in. So not everybody on the AMS team is on the same strategy, it seems.
Apparently not. Canchin maybe going to go one more here, but we'll see. I'm pretty surprised at the fuel mileage he's managed to get with, like I said, having to work most of this race by himself, not with nothing but clean air. You know he's probably used a little bit more fuel than those guys, as they've already come in, and they had to have been out of fuel. So, yeah, interesting. But one more lap to the good here. Maybe a chance to pad that time a little bit more, Joe.
Tomoki Kono has gotten into the number 426 machine. Stefan Overgaard is still sitting in the number 14. Now, Sergio Moore is scheduled to take over for him. I'm trying to wait and see that if he gets in the car or not. Stefan's been sitting in there a while. Kono's still stationary as well. Take a long time to refill these fuel tanks. They're not huge fuel tanks, but obviously it takes a bit with the way that iRacing has scheduled it for them to get them all the way topped up, and they're going to need to. Stefan Overgaard was first in. He's going to be first out, but Sergio Moore did not get in the car. This is unusual. Kono's still stationary.
Well, our director's saying he thinks maybe Morris said he couldn't make it. I guess that could be possible, but that car is still stuck there on pit road.
I think Richard might have said something about it. Unfortunately, my memory is not that great at the moment about what exactly he mentioned in regards to that. Now, Sonny Kanchan
I'm watching him, yeah.
There he goes. Finally. An hour and 20 minutes into the race, and he almost overshoots the exit. Not like it's really going to matter too much with the gap that he has over everybody. Now, interestingly, as we watch Sonny work his way in, I want to jump over to GS a little bit here, because, Brian, I've been kind of watching the gap like you have with Wyatt Gooden and Liam Hackwith. It seems like it might have slowed down a bit. Did Liam Hackwith pick up the pace, or what's happening?
I think Liam picked up the pace, and Wyatt was maybe slowing down, or maybe got tires angry or something. Now it's closed back up within a second. But yeah, like yourself, I was sitting here watching it for about a lap, going, okay, that's the lap, or the gap between the two was pretty much dead set at about 5 seconds or 4.9. But now he's closed it back in within 3.5. So maybe, maybe Wyatt was just letting the car settle back in. Because, the pace he was running was absolutely lights out. So I don't think it was very sustainable throughout the entire run. But maybe now, we're going to find ourselves in that spot where Wyatt, he's definitely turning it up now. The gap's down to 2.8 seconds.
Yeah, it's definitely been turned back on. And I think you're right. It seems like a good call that maybe he can only give those boosts of speed for so long before he has to let them cool off a bit. But right now, he has got the afterburners on, and it's now down to 2.5 seconds. In fact, you could just about see them in the same picture. Let's see if as he heads up the hill, can we see Liam Hackwith? Not quite.
But Wyatt inside of that car can see that bright yellow Mustang joining in, or getting closer and closer inside that front window. And if you're Wyatt up there, you're watching, or if you're Liam, sorry, I got my names confused. If you're Liam and you're looking up in your mirror and you're keeping your relative screen on, and all of a sudden you're just watching that red car get closer and closer and closer. And let me tell you, that is one of the worst feelings as a driver, is a guy that when you had such a big gap, now you're watching it shrink and shrink, and I would say within 3 laps, Liam is going to have his hands full of Wyatt.
As they like to say, there is blood in the water, and Wyatt Gooden can smell it as he continues to close that gap. 0.3 more chopped off, now 2.2. Much like a shark on the Australian coast, we also have gotten information from Australian Richard Losper, who says that Sergio Moore is in fact not racing today. So he did tell us that a bit earlier, apparently. Apparently, it sounds like Richard Losper is quite good at multitasking, because he's watching our race as well as the Bathurst race.
Yeah, he's driving to Bathurst and watching our race. So pretty good internet connection down there in Australia. Good on them for sure. Sonny Kanchan has a perfect pit stop, spends that time in there wisely, and gets back out in front of the rest of the field guys. Sonny's still way far ahead to the good right now. Overgaard had a nice stop, and so far doing good. We know he's pulling the Ironman challenge here today by running the whole race, so he's flying solo too. Stefan, the stakes are high, but he's in second place, looking really good right now. Kono got a lot of work to do to catch him, but Kono is he's working on it. He's back. He's out there and he's fresh. Unlike the guys ahead of him who are, feeling it right now. A little fatigued probably here in their second stint.
About 35 seconds between Kono and Overgaard for that second place. And we still ride on board on the hood of Wyatt Gooden as he's closed it down now to 1.3 seconds. And you can see just how close he is getting to Liam Hackwith's KLM Racing Mustang.
Absolutely. The driving, the show that Wyatt is putting on right now is absolutely nothing short of phenomenal. I've been kind of sitting here watching it, absolutely mesmerized with how he's flinging that car in there. And the car is responding to everything that he is putting it through. It's not swerving around. The rear end's not dancing. He's not oversteering. I mean, that car is on rails, and it's doing everything that Wyatt wants it to do, and then some.
Certainly looks smooth from on board. Now, I suspect, Sean, that I think that maybe Richard and his friend had gotten some kangaroos to maybe hook up a booster on the roof of the place, maybe to give him a better signal. Maybe that's how he can watch both of them at the same time.
Maybe, but nice to certainly have them chime in and keep up with the race. I'm glad they're enjoying the broadcast. Always nice to hear from friends. Kono, though, doing a really good job right now. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him there. He's got Velgamut right there in front, and that's his next victim right now. He's trying to reel in, getting a little bit of draft, gets that car to be a little bit faster down through the tricky S's right now. Good place to pick up speed if you've got a car that handles well, and right now looks to be that Asbury Motorsports 426 handling good.
Sorry to step over you, Sean. Liam absolutely caught that Mazda at the wrong moment, and Wyatt absolutely pounced on him. Now the trick is for Wyatt. How much of the car did he burn up, and how much of those tires are left that maybe he can go chase down Marco? That was absolutely mesmerizing to watch.
Well, that was our ST leader, Sonny Cancian, right there.
And now he didn't even get past him until about 6 corners later, it seemed like. Now he's able to put Sonny between himself and Hackwith. Hackwith not able to try and sneak it in there, coming through the penultimate corner, up over that blind crest. And I still don't think he's going to be able to get by before the final corner. In fact, Sonny goes slightly defensive, doesn't want him to really try and sneak it in. And because of that ST car in the way already, and less than about a quarter of a lap, Gooden has put over a second on Hackwith. Now, over 13 seconds between Gooden and our leader, Marco Luca Abate. That's going to be a tall ask there, Brian. Do you think you can make it in time?
I absolutely. I think, just like I said at the beginning of this telecast, everybody's going to stretch out, and then and with a rubber band effect, they're all going to come back together. I absolutely see no reason why Wyatt would not be able to go up there and at least take another chunk of time out of there, out of that gap. I mean, he has been 1 to 1.5 seconds per laps faster.
Now the good thing, and I saw a car off track there. I'm trying to figure out who that is. That is Jonathan Auger.
Pit road as well.
Jonathan Auger was off track at the end of the S's, it looks like. What happened here? Let's get a replay. He actually made contact with the wall, an impressive feat around Circuit of the Americas. There, we're looking at the replay.
Yeah, he hit it hard. Car really, really damaged. Spotter let him take the toe off the track. He is in the pit. Heavy damage. Car up on 2 wheels there, you see on the replay.
We're going to watch it one more time. Rear end just starts to come around, and unfortunately there's not a whole lot of room, and there's grass on the exit. Yeah.
Awful hard hit, man. Right, straight into that.
Nose in.
So much for the open fields of Texas.
Yeah. Not right there in that part of the track for sure.
And for those of you wondering what Sean means by the marshals allowing him to take a tow, the cars can press escape and get out of the sim. Now, normally most leagues allow cars to just do that anyplace, but with this employing cautions like the Real World Continental Tire Series, they try to make it as real as possible. So they request that the car wait until it is in a safe spot before it can legally take a tow. Otherwise, they are penalized, and there you can see him heading off into a little bit of the kitty litter before he exits out. Let's jump back here to Liam Hackworth sitting in third. Even though he got demoted, still looking at a nice little podium in that KLM machine. He's not under threat. Got about 23 seconds back to Mimi.
Absolutely. But I mean, if you're Liam right now, you have got to be just seeing red angry with the way that the slower car, definitely got in the way there. But it also sounds like the 01 is having some driver swap issues. But going back to the battle here, it was inevitable that Wyatt was going to get around him. But to get it to have your gap erased and your spot lost because of being around a slower car, that absolutely will make you angry.
Well, it sounds like I actually was able to catch it this time. The 01 is not able to swap drivers for some reason, and they're not sure why. Well, I'm going to try and get some word from our race control and see what the ruling is on it, because you're supposed to have 2 drivers to make the race count towards points, but if there's a glitch in the sim, I'm assuming they'll have to take some sort of mercy on you for that.
Well, you would certainly hope so. I mean, still waiting to hear something on that, but yeah, that's a weird one. I haven't heard that one yet, so
neither have I.
Yeah, it might be something new cropping up here. Certainly something to keep an eye on.
Well, while we wait for word from race control, we still are looking at Hackworth, and you can see the gap already that Gooden has stretched on him. And maybe the marshals are not merciful. The word that we got back is it's out of their control. So I guess it is what it is. I guess they can do a single driver, since you are allowed to do that as long as they have enough of their emergency single driver races left. But I'm not sure what to compare this one to, because usually we talk about internet connections being like your electronics going out, Sean, on the car. But is this like a stuck seatbelt? What is this?
Well, again, I hadn't seen this one before, but yeah, a stuck seatbelt would be a good comparison, I guess. It's just it's crazy. That's a real shame. I'm sure that obviously their strategy is now just out the window, and they've lost precious time because of this. So yeah, that's a tough deal, man.
Looks like we have another driver waiting to be talked to, and that is one of the AMS guys, James Stevenson, who was up towards the front earlier but ran into some trouble. Let's bring James in and talk to him about how his race is gone. James, this is Joe Peak with GSRC. Do you got us?
Yep.
James, you were battling up at the front for the lead early on, and then you had the incident coming through the penultimate corner. What was your take on that?
Well, first of all, for some reason, I think after a tap on the rear end from Zhao, we were down on straight line speed, which was making it really difficult just to keep them behind us. And then my brakes just didn't really work into that corner. I overshot it, slowed down a bit, but Zhao got into me and spun me around, and then had contact with Stefan, and that just completely destroyed the straight line speed of the car then.
Do you think Tomoki has anything in him to try and run down Stefan, or are you guys pretty much just settling in for third and hoping for maybe problems for cars ahead?
Oh, well, even after basically a minute of repairs, the car's still down on straight line speed, so Tomoki's given that everything he's got, but he doesn't seem to have any pace advantage because of that.
Oh, that's sad to see, especially since we were looking forward to the battle between all 3 AMS cars and the 49 machine. Sean, do you have any questions before we let James go?
Well, James, I mean, how do you feel about this track? I mean, are you a fan of Circuit of the Americas?
Yeah, not really. I mean, in an F1 car, it's fun through the first sector, but then it's really annoying through the last sector. In these cars, it works in some spots and it doesn't in others, and I think today it's just really low grip out there, even though it's more grip than some of the practice servers have had through the week, apparently. So it's just not a very grippy track, unfortunately.
What's it? We talked about that triple apex turn there in the stadium there. What's it like managing that turn?
It's actually one of the easier turns. I mean, you just drive it in flat out. In the middle, you have a slight lift, and then you drive it out flat out.
Well, now we know the secret, Joe.
There we go. If only I could be that fast that easily. All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, James. And hopefully, actually, one last question before we go. Do you know what this will do for your championship positions? I'm not sure if you know where you guys stand on points right now.
No, in terms of the team's championship, that's pretty much wrapped up, so there's not an issue there. In terms of drivers' championship, I think I've had too many incidents to be able to catch up to Tomoki, so unless Tomoki misses the last round, I think we can crown Tomoki the drivers' champion for ST.
Rookie in and a new champion. Thanks for coming and talking to us, James. That is James Stevenson, driver of the number 426 AMS car, currently being driven by Tomoki Kono. So we've got about 55 minutes left in this race. We are past halfway, but still a long ways to go. Now, I do see that you've been watching the gap there, Brian, and you mentioned the tires and whether or not Wyatt maybe has worn them out. But we should mention that he has one more stop to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And these drivers are getting ready. They're about 5 to 7 laps away by my math from being into that final stop, or at least the final stop window. But yeah, that gap has absolutely shrunk down to 8. It was at one point, it was at 8 seconds. Maybe as we're getting towards the end of this run, the feel good has kind of worn off of those tires, but it's absolutely attainable. We're going to have to see how this works out towards the end of the race, still with just about 55 minutes remaining left in the race. Still a lot can happen. We're just going to have to wait and see, but I know it's going to be a great show as we get down to it.
Well, as the minutes tick down, we are going to pop off to one more short break before we bring you all the way to the end here of the penultimate round of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series here at Circuit of the Americas. Don't go away. Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas, lap 41 here at this penultimate round of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. There on your screen, you see, is that Steven Spantig, actually? I'm trying to figure out who that is. I believe that's Steven, or no. That's John King, excuse me. Steven Spantig has since gotten out of the car, sitting in 6th. Our overall leader is Marco Luca Abate, but he is being run down by Wyatt Gooden, who is on a blistering pace. Sonny Cancian leads in the ST class, but that is pretty much a done deal with 30 seconds between first and second, and 30 more seconds between second and third, so nothing doing really there. However, we should mention some of the other drivers that have hopped in the car. Dexter Castro is in the number 49 machine, the 49 Motorsports A, and Tom Eckline is still stuck in the number 01, and Jonathan Auger currently is sitting in the pits in the number 81. So, with about 47 minutes left on the clock, the big story that we've been following and watching, Brian, is Wyatt Gooden trying to chase down Marco Abate.
Absolutely. I mean, when Christian started off the race and got him out to that big, I think at one point it was 12 or 13 second gap, I wasn't sure if anybody could run him down, but the gap now between Marco and Wyatt has shrunk to a measly 5 seconds. And I say measly when the track is 3.5 miles long, but just the simple fact that what's absolutely amazed me though is Wyatt's car has not fallen off. He had the one section where we thought maybe he'd worn the tires out or something, but he's staying right with them. I mean, in fact, if Wyatt looks out the front window as they're coming up this big front straightaway, he can see the leader.
And that was from a 26-second deficit when he got in the car. That is absolutely incredible. And he's still got 45 minutes left to go. Now, we're expecting pit stop soon, so he is going to get fresh boots, but so is everybody else, assuming. Pit strategy could still play into it some, depending on when he pits and when everybody else pits. But in the end, it's looking like it's only a matter of time before Marco is overtaken for that lead. And I'm pretty sure... Actually, no, this is not the first race that Wyatt has run in this league. He's run before as he overtakes a Dexter Castro who has gone off track in the ST car.
Definitely went out of his way to get out of the way there.
Yeah.
That was impressive. Maybe he heard the theme of Jaws coming as well.
He goes to the Bill Zahn School of back markers, I think, Sean.
Yeah, yeah, maybe so. But Dexter really, the victim of just being the victim of what happened to the previous. He's hanging in there. I mean, he's 4th right now, so has a ways to go to catch CoTA. But 4th place, not too shabby right now. Work to do, but not impossible.
Here we watch the lap from on the roof of Gooden still as he hits the end of the backstretch and now heads into the technical portion of the track. That gap actually has gone up a little bit. It was under 5 seconds, and now
Marco,
it finally...
Yeah, Marco seems like he's starting to stretch this out a little bit. I don't know if it's part of a plan or a strategy. I mean, these road course racers, they definitely have their own ideas, and when it seems like they're well out of it, actually strategy puts them right back into it.
F-hold.
Whoops. That's true. I mean, the first...
That was our director speaking, so our audience couldn't hear what he was saying there, Brian.
Oh! Wyatt to pit road.
Ah!
And so is our leader.
Both of them in. So, let's see what a fresh bit of rubber on the wheels can do for these guys. Lap 43, and fittingly 43 minutes left to go on the clock. I had a thought before our director had barged in there, and now I can't remember what it was. So, both cars in their stall. I don't think either of them missed their stall. Ah, now I remember what I was thinking of. Now, wait, I'm seeing both Christian Challoner and Wyatt Gooden out there? Now wait, Challenger was sharing... Who is Challenger sharing with? Marco. So they've switched Marco out of the car, and they're putting Challenger back in. Now I was about to say, I want to talk to Challenger. That's what I was going to get at before. And he jumps him in the pits.
Wow.
He doesn't even have to pass him on the track.
That was absolute. That was a blistering pit stop. We're talking a difference of a 31-4 on Christian's crew to a 28-2.
So Challenger finds himself in second place as he exits the pits. He's still within touch, though. Can he try and put a move with the cold tires still on the car? Maybe try and catch Wyatt Gooden out? What has he got for him as they go through the S's, climbing up the hill as they tighten?
Well, as Marvin Gaye said, let's get it on, boys.
Bring it all back. All right.
Got to bring it full circle.
Always. Up through turn 9, very important corner. Challenger gets a good exit. Interestingly, Mimi and Hackwith have not stopped yet, so Hackwith has overtaken the lead, but he should take his next stop and hand that back over. Here comes Challenger trying to get himself a good exit. Not quite there. Is he going to get the draft? Can it help him down the long backstretch? Is he going to get an opportunity into 12?
This is going to be a decision that Christian is going to have. Do you poke your nose out? And here he goes. He's making his dive for it. We're going to see how this is going to go. Diving in, who breaks first? Wow, this is going to be a battle coming off of the corner. Christian gets the nose ahead. Car slides out a little bit on Wyatt, but now he's going to have the preferred groove going back through this corner right here. Wyatt ekes the nose back out, and as they come through here, looks like Christian mounted his charge for a split second, but now he is forced to ride back here.
He made a valiant go at it. I thought for a second that maybe he could do it, but a good exit for Wyatt Gooden sealed the deal coming into turn 13. Still not over. Within 3/10, Christian Challenger has him under threat. He is not going to let him go, I guarantee you. Now, I'm not sure how good Marco's English is. If it's good enough, since we can't talk to Christian now that he's in the car, I'd love to hear from Marco, hear what their strategy is, hear if he thinks that Christian can keep up with him.
Absolutely. I mean, he's handed the wheel over. And I don't know if maybe this is part of the strategy, or maybe as the run went on and Wyatt was eating those big chunks of time out, maybe they decided to change it on the fly and go with Christian. I mean, he put the car on the pole by 1.5 seconds. You know he knows the setup. You know he likes the track. Just basically feed it and let it go eat. And right now it looks like Wyatt is definitely holding an advantage out here.
They put another lap on Andres Velgemood, who lets them go. And
trouble
actually,
in the background there.
Yeah, Andre actually keeps it out of anything, but clobbers one of those inside little pyramid curves. Meanwhile, we ride on board with Challenger, just inside the cockpit.
Yeah, this battle is absolutely riveting. I mean, who would have thought that? I would have thought that they would have been having this fight maybe 20 minutes from now as the race wore on, but Wyatt's Torque Chicken crew, they definitely brought their A game on that final pit stop. And in the oval racing side, the final pit stop is often referred to as the money stop, and Wyatt's crew can definitely go collect their checks from the pay window after that one.
Absolutely. Now, as we ride on board with Christian still up ahead, you can see Elliot Mimi, who has yet to stop, is going to possibly throw a wrench in this. If they catch up to him and try to pass him, could that give Christian Challenger an opportunity? He has kept the gap down to about 0.5 second, has Christian Challenger.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, he's definitely doing his work there. But we're going to have to see how this goes.
Here they're catching up to Elliott now. Does Elliott pit in this time? He could maybe disappear before we even get an opportunity for this to erupt.
It's very close to being true. I mean, the first stint of the race, all of your leaders ran 22 laps on their fuel tank, and Elliott right now is on his 22nd lap. So We're going to have to see as he definitely dives down into pit road. Crew is probably screaming at him to come in.
Oh, and he misses!
Oh, he misses! Oh, goodness.
Has to back it up, loses tons of time. That's the second time that we've seen someone have trouble with that pit entry. I had not flagged that at all as a talking point for this race.
I hadn't thought about it either, but
yeah. That was Kanchan earlier that had trouble, remember, on that pit stop coming in there.
Christian Challenger he's not on the screen anymore.
He's lost connection somehow. Oh no. I think he might have lost his internet connection. I'm not seeing anything yet. Usually we get information from iRacing that says that someone has been dropped from the session. Says he's still in here. Oh, disappointment. If this is the end of their race, we're looking forward to that battle with Gooden to see what Challenger had for him. And now, with Hackwith having his stop done, that gap is about 16 seconds from Gooden to second place Hackwith. Challenger slips down to third on the timing and scoring, still not back in the sim.
No, and his timing and scoring has stopped on my screen, so he's definitely not on track right now, but doesn't show disconnected. And there it is. It's official.
Yep.
Challenger is out. Wow.
But Marco looks like he's jumping into the car.
Well, it's a good thing he didn't come and talk to us then. Oh, yeah.
Guys, Tomoki Kono's in the pit. Third place SD car in the pit.
Not sure what happened there. We just got information that Christian Challenger was dropped from this session, so his connection went out. So that means that now Marco has to try and hustle. He's got about 36 minutes to close down a 30-second gap just to get on the podium. It's Anthony Woodward he's chasing.
Now what I'll be curious to see is potentially how bad, if at all, that bad cactus car is beat up, because when they came into the pits last time, they overshot that spot and got into the tire barrier a little bit. From what I can see on my screen here, it doesn't look like it's too hurt at all, actually.
I'm going back to see if Tomoki hit anything or was hit by anything.
Well, damage on the car, and I'm going back here a few laps, see exactly what happened, but something got the car out of shape, and he hit something because he's got damage on the car and he didn't have it on it before. So
was it one of the pyramids possibly? The curbs that they have on the apexes of the S's, and he's heading out now, so Tomoki is now in motion. But after that, Dexter Castro has passed him by. Castro is now onto the podium. I don't think we expected that with his teammate Chris Hewson being well down the order earlier in the race.
I'm still trying to catch up to it. Really can't see what might have happened there, or why they got a little bit off track, but I didn't see any contact or anything. Car just started slowing down, and he brings it in. I just can't find what happened, Joe.
Very unusual circumstances for the number 426 Asbury Motorsports car. Sure, Richard is disappointed to see that. Was probably hoping for that podium sweep. They've done it before, but I'm not sure. He's got about 18 seconds up the road to Dexter. It could be possible. Depends on how much quicker Tomoki is. Well, unfortunately, now with Christian Challenger being booted from the sim, and now Tomoki having those issues, most of our drama has disappeared from this race. Closest battle is Jason Breifogel, about 3 seconds behind Marco Abate, but Marco should be faster than Breifogel's Klansman racing machine.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on that gap myself. It's hovering anywhere between 2.8 and about 3.2 seconds, depending on what part of the track these guys go through. But if Marco, I'm sure Marco is probably going for it full tilt. It's gonna be a stretch to see if he can get up there and catch Anthony again. That gap is 34 seconds, and with 33 minutes left, I mean, unless he absolutely wheels it, it's going to be hard for Blackadder Motorsports to get back up on the podium there.
I do see we have some other cars that are, or other drivers that are waiting to be talked to. Elliot Mimi, the driving partner of Anthony Woodward. Since we talked to Anthony, let's talk to Elliot, see his thoughts about how this race is going, especially now that they are back on the podium. Elliot, this is Joe Peak with GSRC. Can you do you have a copy for us?
Yeah, hey guys, can you hear me okay?
We got you loud and clear. You guys have suddenly found yourselves back on the podium after Challener's connection was lost. Do you think you can hold on to it over Marco with about 30 minutes left?
I hope so. That's pretty unfortunate for them. I saw Christian disconnect and thought that was kind of odd. I didn't realize they'd put him back in the car, and Marco had gotten out. But yeah, it's really unfortunate for them. We're in a podium position now that I don't feel like we really earned with our driving today. But I guess we'll take the luck.
Well, sometimes in this case, luck is better than talent. Or at least in racing, sometimes finds that way itself. I've been covering the Mustangs this race. Where do you think your setup that was a strong suit at? I've been seeing a lot of guys, the rear of the car becomes very, very happy under power, but where do you think your strong suit was in that?
Well, Phil Carpenter's done our setups all year. He's kind of like our crew chief and our backup number 3 driver, and he does an excellent job for us. He works really hard giving us a quality setup every week. Our car seems to be pretty good early on through the S's, and it's okay through the kind of the autocross section, as you guys said in the pre-race show. But yeah, I think we have the same problem everyone else does, where this car makes so much torque, and this track is so terribly designed that it's really hard to keep the rear tires in any kind of decent shape for a long fuel run. And the way our setup is, the back end of our car lifts up a lot as the fuel burns off, so that doesn't really help either.
Yeah, I mean, as you guys get on the loud pedal, that's where you find yourselves with the rear dancing around. Unless someone's new to iRacing, talk to us about the dynamic tracks and how that's affecting it. I mean, we've been watching the groove in the corners get darker and darker as the race has gone on. Is that something that you guys had to plan into your setup at all, or is it just kind of something that's just there and you kind of work with?
It's very difficult to plan for, especially on the road racing side, just because it takes the track so long to rubber in. Compared to like the oval racing, it's definitely noticeable. I think the implementation of it from iRacing has been a bit odd, to say the least. I know they've had a lot of problems with the skyboxes and things not being correct for everyone, so that's been a bit frustrating. And this is only our second race in the Continental Series here with the dynamic track, so it's still a learning process for us. Hopefully during the off season, especially, we can improve on it a lot. And if the series looks like a good place for us to be next year, hopefully we'll be a little bit better prepared for the dynamic tracks next year.
All right. Well, that was definitely informative. We love hearing about the dynamic track since we get so few endurance races to get to talk about it. That was Elliot Mimi, who his driving partner is currently sitting on the podium, although they would have liked to have earned it by sheer pace, but it looks like they might get it by luck today. He's driver of the number 325 machine. So I do have a bit of good news, if I'm allowed to share some personal news here. I was a part of a Petit Le Mans team today here on iRacing, and my team apparently finished on the podium. So I pat myself on the back for that.
Well, there you go.
Well done, gentlemen.
Meanwhile, I wrecked in the final corner of an IMSA race at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, so that was my afternoon. And about 2 hours before that, I won a fixed Sprint Cup Series at Charlotte. So, kind of up and down day for me.
You're a step ahead of me. I have yet to win an official race on the oval side, so. But back to the racing that's on screen. We're looking at Sonny Cancian still leading the way. Now the gap up to 40 seconds between himself and Stefan Overgaard. Dexter Castro still holding down that podium position. Smokey Kono's cut it down to about 14 seconds, but it hasn't gone down in a bit. So I'm not sure if Tomoki's worn out his tires as well, or if he's just run out of juice to be able to try and gun him down. But it has the lessening of the gap has itself lessened, as I would say.
Yeah, I think Tomoki's maybe used it up just a little bit. Car looking a little bit squirrely. We are in the closing portion of this race right now, and I think he's made, as we talked about earlier, he made those tires a little bit angry and not able to pick up as much ground now. He's running out of time, unfortunately. Doesn't look like a podium is going to be possible. Can hope for maybe a little bit of luck, but I don't think he's going to get it. Castro, certainly one of the strong ones in this series, and looking pretty good right now in that third position. Now he is a couple laps down from the second place car, Stefan Overgaard, who right now is just really just focused on holding down this podium finish here for Asbury Motorsports as they try to go 1-2. Does not look like they'll be able to go 1-2-3 today. Castro holding down third, as I said there, for 49 Motorsports.
We're down to 26 minutes on the clock. Most of the race has now gone by. We're in the final half hour of this 2.5-hour race. Most things seem to have settled down, but as Yogi Berra once said, it ain't over till it's over. So, as we saw with Christian Challenger, you do not know what can happen. And with road racing, especially, and endurance racing, Brian, it is just unpredictable until the checkered flag falls.
Well, absolutely, and you saw that happen with Christian, where your connection just gives out. These guys could run up on a lap car that all of a sudden now, maybe an hour ago, was definitely going to give you the room. But now, as the race wears on and they're fighting for position, they might not give you that space anymore. But I mean, when you look at it, Wyatt has a very clear 19 second lead over Liam. Probably not going to be anything exciting happening there, but you just quite never know. Liam's definitely not getting out of it. I mean, he's putting down great lap times, but Wyatt is just wheeling that Mustang around the Circuit of the America course.
If he were to have a spin, if Wyatt were able to actually manage to hit something, either the wall or maybe an ST car or lapping a GS car, there could be damage done to his car, and that 19-second gap could come down very quickly. So definitely reason for Liam Hackworth to keep pushing, because if he keeps it at 19 seconds, that means all it takes is a spin and some damage, and it could come down within a matter of a lap or two, instead of, say, if it was at 40 seconds. Let's say he has an accident on the last lap, then those 40 seconds would be a lot more insurmountable than 20 seconds. So yeah, good point about Liam Hackworth staying with it and keeping him in check. There we see our leader in the TCR Mustang, driving for Just Keep Driving, the number 903. Although I'm seeing on my screen, actually, his team is Torque Chicken Racing, so that graphic that you see on your screen is incorrect. He's actually about to put a lap on Steven Spantig, it looks like, 6th place driver in the Mustangs. You caught a flash of him on screen a little bit ago.
Yeah, Wyatt's car, those guys definitely need to take their setup builder out for dinner. That car has been pretty much, I mean, within... It's had a couple moments, but for the most part, that car has driven almost flawlessly this entire run. And even in the last run, Wyatt's been able to give that car everything that car can handle, and the car almost just keeps wanting more and more and more. I mean, his last lap was a 2-minute 28, which is only a couple tenths off of his best time of a 2:27.9. the way that he's been driving this car, I feel like a broken record, but it's been nothing short of a great thing to watch. Kid's got a lot of talent.
Now, I was going back and looking to see where Jeff Jacobs started this race. He started in third, and I believe he was demoted to fourth after the first lap. So the farthest down they were was fourth, but still, for this car to go from fourth place up to the lead, and not just the lead, but the lead by 20 seconds with 22 minutes left to go on the clock, and the race isn't even over. That is just impressive, just incredible, the way that they have clawed their way back and dominated the field. So I don't think it's just the setup builder that needs to be treated to dinner. I think that because Wyatt Gooden has definitely done the most in terms of between himself and Jeff Jacobs of getting themselves into a winning position. Jeff did his job. He got him a clean car, as Anthony mentioned, and he was integral to the team. But boy, you know, I think he should go and get him a steak dinner after this is over and said and done.
Yeah, and the other thing to take note of, they were 26 seconds back when Wyatt stepped into the car. 26 seconds back to now go to 20 seconds in the lead. Without any major malfunction from a leader, nobody's spun. Yes, Christian had his connection issues, but that was well after the fact of Wyatt already being around him. That car has driven marvelous all day. I don't even think I've ever seen it step out once.
Yeah, that is a 46-second swing that they basically have affected. So, man, we keep heaping praise on this, but we can't stress how impressive this run has been for the Torque Chicken Racing team. And this is why they are up towards the top of the championship this year. Between Patrick Bieri, Jeff Jacobs, Todd Honzarenko, the depth of talent on that team is phenomenal.
Guys, Tomoki pretty strong here, man. He's a couple about 2.5 to 3 seconds faster every lap right now, and working on trying to get his way up to the podium here. He's still got a little ways to go to catch Castro, but he has made it a lot closer with just over, it looks to be about 9 laps to go in this race. There's a chance. There is a chance to get that Asbury Motorsports car up on the podium right now.
Still 20 minutes left to go. Lap 52. There you can see Tomoki Kono's slightly beat up AMS number 426. He's got a little ways up the road to hit Dexter. And speaking of hitting Dexter, if I can use an unfortunate phrase, actually, these were the two that came together at VAR, Sean, remember? When
I do. Yes, I do remember that, and I'm sure they both remember it as well.
So how hard does Dexter fight? He was the one that came off the worst. I believe it was Tomoki slipped slightly off track, and when he re-entered, was it Tomoki that went off track and re-entered?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Tomoki ran off, and on the re-entry there, it wasn't wasn't as smooth as one would like, maybe.
Dexter was a little irritated after that. We actually interviewed him post-race. That went slightly strange, if we put it in a polite way.
Awkward.
Dexter sort of disappeared on us after giving his thoughts on the incident. But right now, he is holding down that podium position. This could be redemption if he could hold off Kono.
Kono coming, man. Now he's coming up the hill, and it's again, still got a ways to go, but I'm looking here still. We've still got just under 9 laps left, and there's time to get it done, I guess.
Hearing that Kono's pace is definitely significantly faster. Let's look at the last one. 2:38.9 for Tomoki Kono. Meanwhile, Dexter Castro, a 2:41.3. So, yeah, he should be chopping it off about 3 seconds a lap, if that's correct.
Yeah, chopping at it is definitely what you could say. It's definitely not the peck away theory. It's definitely the chop away theory, and he's doing it right now. Kono, that second cup of coffee he had before the race is it's kicking in right now. He's got that second win, and he's sniffing a podium here. Going to do everything he can in the closing laps here with just over 8 laps to go, Joe.
Get your axe, because right now Tomoki Kono is chopping down the forest. That is Dexter Castro. 6.3 seconds now between them. When I looked about half a lap ago, it was about 8 seconds. Just incredible pace. We thought that maybe he had dropped off, but it doesn't look to be the case at all. And that aero damage is definitely not hurting him as he tries to run down what I think we could safely say is his rival team in this series.
Oh, absolutely. And, we talked about, what happened last time. So, obviously there's some incentive to get there. And, man, he's getting there quick and in a hurry right now. Look at just the time he's made up here just through these last few turns. He's really starting to close it down even more as they go through the stadium right here. And as we found out, maybe the stadium not quite as hard to get through as we thought. You just got to find the right line to do it. And right now, Kono hooked up, man, as he heads down into 19.
Something worth mentioning, 17 minutes left on the clock. Remember, they have 2.5-minute laps. So we're looking at, about 5-6 laps left only? Not very many.
I'm showing maybe about 8. Yeah?
Yeah, I think you might be right. About 6, 7, or 8. Somewhere in that range. Since it's over 2 minutes per lap, if we got 16 minutes left, it'll be less than half. Which would be 8. So, yeah, I think we're looking at about 7 laps left. We're also getting information from the AMS guy in charge, Richard Losper, that Sonny Canchin is definitely going to make it on fuel. I don't think we were particularly worried about that one, though. He is cruising. He could probably take a splash and dash and still win this race. He has 45 seconds over Overgaard.
Honestly, he could probably go have a cocktail at this point, Joe.
What's the drink? Should he have a Foster's?
Yes.
That's the drink of choice down there?
Actually, I don't think they really drink Foster's.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Yeah. I will have to check up on that.
We switch that back now to Tomoki Kono. That gap is down to 4.3.
And I've just been informed that's probably a VB bitter.
There we go.
There we go.
So he could go enjoy a VB bitter.
I would think maybe a half a pint real quick. Sure.
There we go. I wonder if we could hop on the roll bar of Kono. Yeah, and he definitely can see him there because we could see them both in the same shot. There, just off in the distance, that little speck is Dexter Castro as he hunts him down. We're going to watch it grow bigger and bigger, obviously because we're in the braking zone, but also because the gap slowly but surely decreases between them on track.
Well, and Kono got Abate right behind him right now. Abate's made his way up to Kono, and now Kono's got to deal with that faster Mustang there as they get through some pretty technical spots on the course right now. Abate closing quick. Kono got to decide what he's going to do. Going to get out of the way, get out of his line, and try and let him by, or he's going to stay in the line. Here they go through Stadium. Kono keeps it in, tucked in low right there through the turn. Abate can't do anything with it, Joe, as they head down to 19.
And Marco is definitely running out of time, I don't think, unless
something... Oh, that was close.
Yeah, there was very little room between those cars. I was looking at the gap and then looked away just as you suddenly shouted out and had to go back and watch what happened between them. But I was going to say, unless something happens to Anthony out there on track, 22 seconds between Marco and Anthony, I don't think he's going to be able to run him down in time. I think Anthony has this podium sealed up, knocking on wood.
Well, I'll tell you what, just talking about Kono again real quick, that little bit of traffic he had to fight with right there, that cost him a second. He was only about a second faster right there, so You know, here's where these last few laps come into play with maybe about 6 laps left or so. You know, every little bit of time he loses, that podium slips away, but still hard on the gas and got a car that's handling really well despite a little bit of damage that they picked up in the early part of this race.
He's still pacing slightly faster than Castro. Tomoki with a 239.5, Castro with a 240.3. But like you said, if that's the rate at which he catches, he could still run out of time. We're still on board that roll bar. We can see him much closer now, 3.3 seconds between them. When we hopped on at first, it was 4 seconds between them. Now, I believe Dexter doesn't have damage on his car, does he? He should be fast, yeah, and where I'm seeing that gap stretch open now. So in a straight line, Dexter is able to pull away, and that's going to be where it's difficult, I think, Sean, if Tomoki catches him.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have so much of that here. Some really, really long runs here, and definitely hard, but he's making it up in the turns at such a rapid rate right now. Car just handling a lot better for Tomoki, obviously, and he's able to make up so much ground right there. I don't know if it's going to matter right now. Castro's got to be worried. Kono is really, he's just about caught him, Joe.
And to make this even more impressive, we're getting information that Tomoki Kono's steering is not straight. So he's not only been gutting him down with a car that has worse aerodynamics, he has a car that has worse steering as well.
Well, even more impressive at this point. And he's off. Kono's off. Way off into the runoff. Is he going to have to give up a little bit of speed there?
I don't think they have a penalty in iRacing for going off there, do they?
No, I believe not. Now, he should be okay, but loses a little bit of ground. But, man, that was a close one, Joe.
He's still 2 seconds. He's closer than he was when they went down the backstretch, and he lost all that time. Now they head uphill into the braking for one. Castro trying to hopefully pick up the pace at this point. Do what he can to try and eke out a little bit of a gap. 11 minutes left on the clock. It's now down under 2 seconds.
Well, it's definitely got plenty of time left to do it here. I mean, down the hill and through the S's. Here comes Tomoki Kono. Really making this race interesting right now for the podium. Trying to go 1, 2, 3 for Asbury Motorsports. 49 Motorsports, Dexter Castro trying to hang on. Joe, I just don't know if he can do it, man. Kono is really strong right now.
It's going to be a tall ask, but like we said, he has the straight line speed. So all he has to do is stay within distance, and he could just streak right on by on any of the long straights that they are on, especially this one that they're entering right now, the long backstretch.
Yeah, he actually gets to pull away there. Kono not quite as strong off the turn right there up the straight, and Castro able to get away just a bit right there, open it back up a little bit. Time running out.
We're now under 10 minutes to go. In the meantime, we've unfortunately just kind of set our GS guys aside. I know there's not a whole lot going on there, so let's stay with this unless something erupts in GS. But Brian, what has been going on over there? Is there anything worth noting?
No, Wyatt's car still looks good. He still has a big lead. Fastest car on the track. These guys are spaced out far enough that I don't see anything happening right now unless someone really gets off and has a massive shunt. All the intervals are staying the same between each other. Marco has been able to cut about 10 seconds out of the gap up to Anthony, but with 9 minutes remaining and a 20-second gap, it looks like they will not be able to get back up onto the podium, which is unfortunate considering how great that car was through the first 2 stints of the race.
Sean, I know what you're thinking. When he said spaced out, he meant with the gaps. So don't even go there.
No, I hear you.
Anyways, we're still watching Tomoki Kono. Now down to 1.3 seconds. Great under braking. Now under a second. He gained almost half a second under braking for the first corner. It stretches back up. Let's see what he can do in the S's. He's still got 8 minutes to go. So about 3 or 4 laps. Just behind them, you can see the car of Jason Breifogel starting to close. He could throw a wrench in this as well. This is for the final podium position on the ST class.
What a race. Man, what a race here between these two. Dexter really just wheeling it right now. You know he's seasoned there, and you know he's just got to be just on top of the wheel right now. White knuckle, they call it, people. White knuckle, and that's all you're seeing out of the top of that man's hands right now.
As we hop on board his roll bar once again, now he's got the draft. That's going to help him keep from losing time down this backstretch. When they got on there, it was about half a second. It's starting to increase up to 7/10 now. So he's still losing just a little bit of time. I think he's holding on to it a little bit better now that he's got a whiff of that slipstream. Into the braking, down into turn 12. Breifogel closing in behind as well. If he catches them here in the technical portion, does he attempt to pass? Does he let them try and battle it out before he goes by? He might have to wait until they get to a long enough straightaway if he doesn't want to interrupt this battle. Gap still at about 7/10 between Castro and Kono.
Kono really working it right now. I mean, really working it. And Castro just showing some legs right now, man. Kono, oh wow, what a run off the turn there by Kono.
He goes
Really
defensive.
nice.
Castro missed the apex, and that's what opened up the opportunity. Kono goes for the over-under. They almost
Not almost.
Could
There
they
was
come
contact.
to blows once more? Just enough room between them as Jason Breifogel streaks by. Remember, Kono doesn't have the straight line speed. He starts to drop back. He's going to try and get him under braking. He switches back over, going for the over-under. Dexter stays to the inside. He's going to try and get himself the best run possible. Kono accelerating off the corner. Not quite enough. He's going to be on the wrong side, heading through turn 2. Now they slip into the S's, and Dexter is back ahead.
It's go time, baby. That was an exciting exchange. Here they go down through the S's, man, and they're still fighting. Kono not giving up the charge on Dexter Castro. And he's heading out of this bend right here and back around another one to the left. Here we go. Kono.
Dexter is not giving this up easily. He goes defensive up into 8. Long right-hand corner. The ever-important turn 9. Now Kono is right on his rear bumper. He's going to have to try and get past soon. He's going to lose ground once again down the long backstretch. Does he take a look onto the inside down at 11? Yes, he does. Very late move. Kono to the inside. Dexter Castro tries for the over-under. Kono all the way off track. Comes back on course. But once again, it's Dexter Castro with the lead. Kono slips in behind him. Pulls into the slipstream. Gap starting to increase once again with that damage on the front of Kono, probably ruining that early contact that his teammate had. Into the braking zone. Dexter Castro well clear, doesn't even go defensive.
My heart is pounding right now, Joe, watching these two.
2.5 hour race, and the final podium spot comes down to this. I believe we're going to have 2 laps to go. Credit to Castro. He's been defending beautifully from a much faster car, and look at Kono absolutely wheeling that thing, getting it sideways. And interestingly, coming up behind them, They do have our leader, Wyatt Gooden. He could cut this short by a lap. Here comes Kono, going for the over-under once again. This time he makes it stick. He looks to try and avoid the draft of Dexter Castro as he goes to the inside, all the way to the wall, defending. Castro not able to close in. Kono has been better under braking up into this corner. He goes back wide to take the normal line. Castro comes in on the inside. Can he take the position back? He hits the apex. So does Kono. Goes for the over-under. Kono gets a better exit. Can he get it ahead? He's going to be on the outside for turn 2 once again. It's going to switch back. Can Kono finally keep it ahead? Still side by side through the S's. Neither driver is giving up. They get almost together, but Kono finally gets ahead of him.
That is a mouthful, Joe. Wow. Kono just put the power down, and boy, what a job right there by Dexter Castro, just running side by side with him. Those two managed not to touch. Oh, and Kono just off just a little bit right there.
He is pushing. He wants to try and get him out of his slipstream because he knows it's about to switch positions here on the backstretch. Dexter Castro looking to the inside. He's not even going to wait till then. He's going to try and pass him. He looks to the apex. Kono gives him room.
Here comes Wyatt Gooden right behind him, Joe.
Gooden should be able to get to the line with enough time to put one more lap in. Here comes Dexter Castro. He's got a faster car in a straight line. Gooden coming by. They're going to go 3 wide. Castro in the middle, looking to the outside. Kono defends. Down into turn 12. Can he hold him back? He goes deep on the brakes. Dexter Castro, can he try for the under-under? No. Kono takes the apex, holds him back. It is not over by any means.
Yeah, and Kono gets real defensive right there. Nice job right there. Puts a little bit of a... closes the door on him there just a little bit. Kono still holding position there on that inside line, and Castro not able to do it up top. Trying to get under him here. Not quite going to do it.
Huge wiggle from Kono exiting turn 15. Still able to hold on, but Dexter Castro is looking around the outside of the triple apexer, but he goes too wide and he loses ground.
He certainly does, man. He lost a lot of ground right there. Could make it up here in 19 and 20 if he plays it right. Maybe here in the last turn, maybe he can do it.
He has got to hold on to that slipstream if he wants a chance, because without it, remember, Kono has been faster overall. But with the slipstream, we know that Dexter can hold on. Once again, Kono going defensive. We saw this last lap. Exact same thing all the way up to the wall. Then Kono went back to the outside. He does it again. Dexter Castro is going to look to the inside twice. Oh, he looks for it, but Kono goes defensive very late. Castro trying to work it around the outside of turn 1, but runs out of track and goes off course. Isn't able to make it happen. Kono still has the position. White flag is out.
What a fight, man. I'm telling you, these two just going at it. Like we haven't seen them go at it quite yet before. I mean, without the contact. Both driving defensively when they've needed to here, but Kono right now the victor in this battle, because he's ahead, and Castro doing everything he can to catch him, going a little wide right there. It's going to hurt his entry into the turn, lose a little bit more ground, and we see it here. He's getting away.
And Brian, definitely jump in once we have a couple corners to go for our leader, Wyatt Gooden, so we can call his win. But right now, our eyes are firmly affixed. Look at Dexter Castro from way back. I don't think he's going to make that. Oh, he gets chopped off. Kono gives him just enough room. He saw him coming. But that could be the end of this battle, as Dexter Castro gets a terrible run coming off of turn 11.
Wow, and just terrible. And Kono having to go swing it all the way out there, almost into the kitty litter. And but Kono right now, now you see here, Castro making up a little bit of ground on that long straight right there, but Kono definitely managed these turns a little bit better right now, and does it again as he gets on the power and gets away.
This is Kono's happy hunting ground. These technical sections can allow him to stretch away. Only a few more corners to go. Dexter is still not giving it up. He is still within a second. But is he close enough to try and make something happen? That's the big question. In the
might come
meantime,
down.
we've
It
got
might come
one
down
more
to the very
corner
last
for our
turn, Joe.
leader.
In the meantime, here comes Wyatt out of the final corner for the final time today. What else can you say? Nothing short of a dominant victory. That team earned it. He's coming to the checkers now to take the victory at Circuit of the Americas. Your winner in the GS class, Wyatt Gooden. And I'm going to hand it back off to you guys because I know that ST finish is going to get good.
And CoTA was able to come home with third. Meanwhile, we have to actually jump back because they were almost being lapped by our leader. Third and fourth place were almost lapped by our leader on a 2.5 minute long track. Sonny Canchin just absolutely schooling the entire field, wiggles his car across the line with an impressive win in the ST class by himself on a solo run.
Yeah, and a great job by Overgaard today, too. Really, in the early stages of this race, he had a lot of racing going on in front of him, and he was patient, really patient. Just sat back there and kind of watched the battle and took it easy. It's paid off for him today with a second-place finish there, Joe.
And he still hasn't crossed the line. Such was the gap. It was about 55 seconds I'm seeing between them. Just incredible. But it's a done deal for him. He is definitely getting second. So we are going to go to a quick break. Then we will have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And I think actually Stefan is going to go into the pits even. But we are going to come back after this. Stick around because we have upcoming races on the screen here on GSRC. Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas, where we just watched the penultimate round here in the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. In the end, our winner overall was Torque Chicken Racing, with Wyatt Gooden leading the way there in dominant fashion. KLM Racing came home in second with Liam Hackworth and his teammate Kevin Ford in the car. Bad Cactus Green managed a podium, although they wanted it on pure pace. I'm sure they won't turn it down, even though they got a bit lucky. And fourth, it was Blackadder Motorsports number 66. Sadly, they had some trouble along the way, and what could have been a good battle for the lead, Christian Challoner, unfortunately fell out and finished fourth. Klansman Racing came home in fifth, with Blackadder Motorsports in sixth. Blackadder Motorsports number 67 in sixth, excuse me. Slow Johnson Racing rounded out the field in the GS class in seventh. Asbury Motorsports was number 47. Sonny Cancian is our winner in the ST class. Second place, we can't discredit Stefan Overgaard, who ran a solo race as well and finished in second place. We didn't get to talk about him a whole lot, but he ran a great race as well to the podium. And then the final podium spot, it was in fact a sweep. Tomoki Kono and James Stevenson for Asbury, number 426, just beat out Dexter Castro and Chris Hewson, who finished in fourth for 49 Motorsports A. SAR Racing finished in the top five for the MX-5s, and then BWR Racing finished in sixth. Turn 2 Motorsports ST car finished in seventh, and in eighth place it was 49 Motorsports E car. So we've got a couple people to talk to. First off, let's talk to one of our winners. That'd be Jeff Jacobs in the GS class. So let's pull him in here. Looks like we don't have Wyatt Gooden in here yet, but if we could pull him in, that'd be fantastic. First off, Jeff, I know we were heaping praise for Wyatt up in the booth. I'm sure you were probably doing so over the radio as well.
Oh yeah, no question about it. I've been lucky to have some teammates this season that have been able to jump in the car and really make some magic happen.
Now, let's not play down what you did, too. You gave him a great car, and you put him in a great position. And let's admit that this season you found a fair bit of speed compared to previous seasons. What's helped with that?
Well, Wyatt is one of the factors there. He's been able to help me out with some coaching and really focusing on some specific things, and really helps. Especially we worked a fair amount here at CoTA and getting the lines right through those turns.
Now, unfortunately, we're not fully aware of what the point situation, although we know that Torque Chicken is pretty high up there. Does this seal the deal for you guys, or do you need to take it to Road Atlanta to take home the team championship?
Oh, I think there's no question that Road Atlanta is going to be an exciting race. I think the number 66 guys there with Marco and Christian in the Blackadder Motorsports car were only 3 points behind us coming into this race. And which really was sort of the disappointing thing with Christian's signal dropping there. I think that was going to be a terrific race to the end, and so we'll have a little bit of a points advantage here, maybe 8 or 9 points, but it's going to be, I think, still anybody's championship coming into the final race of the year.
Well, thanks so much for an exciting race, especially running down the field, and congratulations on the win.
All right, thanks so much, and great job again on the broadcast.
Thanks. That was Jeff Jacobs, teammate to Wyatt Gooden, winner today here in the GS class at Circuit of the Americas. Up next, we have our winner in the ST class, and I believe we have a special guest interviewer. Richard Losper has come back, taking a break from Bathurst, and he is going to talk to Sonny.
Sonny, this is Richard. Congratulations on a great win today. I know I was not available to race today, basically because of the Australian Bathurst race. I'm here at a friend's place watching it, but I have stepped away from that and managed to watch the last half hour of your race. Fantastic work, my friend. Tell us a little bit about the early part there when you got away from the field.
Yes, hi Richard. That was an amazing start at the start of the race. I was pretty much trying to take it very slow, don't push too hard, sort of thing. Luckily, the other one of the cars started in pole. I think it's Joel. Basically, he was. I've seen him push too hard, and me and James were working out together to see if we can pass him. And there was an opportunity for me to on the back straight where I was able to pass him, and that sealed the deal basically. And from then on, there was never looking back.
Yeah, and when you finally went into the pits, how much fuel did you have? You couldn't have had more than a few drops of fuel when you finally went into the pits there. So your one-stop strategy worked perfectly as well.
Yes, it did indeed. I was able to get into the pits basically with around a liter of fuel left. So it was right on the limit right there. So I was able to get in the pits, and luckily I was able to also make it out safe and in front of Stefan.
Yeah, look, great job, man. Just go and enjoy this time at Victory Lane, and gonna have a VB bitter just to celebrate this one. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. That was a great solo race, as like I said. And one last thing, congratulations to Stefan. He did a great solo job as well, and well done. And my other mate, James and Tomoki. And
Yeah,
looking forward to seeing you on track, Richard.
Yeah, and we'll be talking to James. If you do get back into the session, can you ask Stefan if he's available for an interview as well?
Yeah, sure. AMS 123.
Thank you, sir. Back to you, Joe.
Well, turns out Wyatt is able to come talk to us real quick. We'll bring him in just real fast since we already had a nice chat with Jeff Jacobs. Wyatt Gooden, congratulations on a win here at CoTA. You made it look easy out there running down the field. Was it easy behind the wheel?
Hey, thanks. No, it was very hard. I think driving the Mustang around this track is probably one of the hardest combos to keep it within the lines, at least, that's for sure.
We've heard drivers talk before about this being a bit of a low grip track. Would you consider it that? And do you think that's why it's so difficult to keep it within the lines?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, I think more so if you think about how a lot of the corners are at this track, you really just have to kind of back up your corner entries and just really ease into the turn, and it's just a lot of late apexes. So I think people are kind of used to rushing into the corners, and you really get punished for doing that at this track in particular.
Well, we've seen you in and out of the car. I think this is the second time you've run with the series. Is that correct? Do you plan to be back for the final round, or is this it for this season?
I'm not sure, actually. I love running the league. It's really, really well organized. It's always a blast. But I was really running with Jeff as kind of a backup because I think his co-driver had missed the race. So, but it was really fun running with them, and he put the car in a great position there. After the first stint, so I had a ton of fun.
He definitely did do a great job there. Thanks for coming and talking to us. That was Wyatt Gooden, our winner as well, with Jeff Jacobs in the GS class. Let's see. Up next, I believe, do we have anybody from GS class? Well, or ST class, since we had you do one of our other ST drivers, would you like to talk to your other teammate James Stevenson there, Richard?
Would absolutely love to do that, sir.
Let's bring James in. Here we go.
James, okay. This is Richard. Now, I'm not supposed to be here, but here I am. A very, very exciting race. Tell us about what happened early on. I never saw that part of the race. What happened between yourself and Zhao?
Well, first off, I passed him into turn 1 and he drove into the back of me on the exit of turn 1, and that seemed to give us a little bit of aero damage. It put us about 2 to 3 kilometers an hour down on a straight line, which then made us change positions over and over because I was a lot quicker through the corners, but he had the straight line speed. And then I made a mistake going into the second last corner, sort of outbraked myself, ran a little bit wide and a little bit slow, and he tagged the back of me, spun me around, and then Stefan got the front of my car, and that really destroyed the straight line speed then.
And what repairs did you do when you got into the pits?
We did a minute of repairs when we were into the pits, and that brought the car back to the straight line speed it had after the bit of damage, so it still wasn't great, but it was a lot more competitive.
Yeah. Now tell us about what your thoughts were on Tomoki's drive. Was that not unbelievable?
Well, I'm not sure if the broadcast caught it, but Tomoki's computer froze up, so his car went into the wall midway through his stint, so we had even more damage to repair. I think there was 3 minutes of repairs for that one, which put us back a couple of laps and behind Dexter. And yeah, Tomoki just drove phenomenally well to be able to catch Dexter and pass him when Dex didn't have any damage on his car at all. I mean, that's just a big effort for him.
Yeah, it was. Well, James, 1, 2, 3 for Asbury Motorsports. I'm pretty sure the team will be happy about that. I know I'm happy about that. And all looking good. Will everybody be there for Road Atlanta?
Oh, I'm hoping so. We don't know yet, but interesting development. Tomoki racked up a lot of incidents because of his issues, and that means there's only 5 points separating us in the Drivers' Championship going into the final round, so that is still alive.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Once we see what the points are with the drivers in particular, because we're a little way behind on that, we will know for sure. But James, great drive today for this for the team on this very difficult track, and thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Back to you, Joe.
Up next, we have third place finishers in the GS class, the Bad Cactus Racing Gree team. That is Anthony Woodward and Elliot Mimi. We talked to them during the race. We got to talk to both of them about their thoughts. Now that you guys have solidified the podium, I know you were wanting it on pure pace, but I have to imagine you're still happy that you got to stand up with the champagne spray.
Yeah, definitely. Didn't want it like that, but we'll definitely take it, I think.
You guys haven't been quite this far up usually in the race. I know it was a little bit smaller of a field. Do you think you can maybe repeat it when we go to Road Atlanta, or do you think this is a one-off deal for you guys?
I think we have a good opportunity at Road Atlanta to finish well. We also, I think, finished in third at Watkins Glen, was it, with a much larger field. So we have the pace sometimes, and sometimes we don't. It really depends on the track and who shows up for the race for the competitors. As I'm sure you guys know, that this is like the all-star of Mustang series, so the competition is stiff to say the least.
Yeah,
that's
so
a good way of putting
as
it.
well. For an for an endurance series, it's just like a sprint race. These guys are so fast. I think the closest ahead of us was 50 seconds. So we were on it all race. Green flag race, we were on it.
Certainly is competitive. A lot of talent comes out here for the Conti races. Well, again, congratulations on the third place finish, and we hope to see you back here in the booth again soon.
Thanks, guys. Great broadcast again as usual.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That was Elliot Mimi and Anthony Woodward, third place finishers today here at Circuit of the Americas. One last interview we're going to try and squeak in. Fourth place, just off the podium. It was Dexter Castro. Richard, would you like to ask Dexter a few words about his race?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Let's bring Dexter is in there. Dexter, great drive from you today. I know you guys were a couple of laps down, and then that last battle with Tomoki, that was just unbelievable. You had better straight line speed. He was better in the corners. Tell us about that battle there.
Well, I honestly don't know what happened for most of the race because I was busy over in the Road Warrior. We managed to finish third in the top split. But anyway, I jumped in and I had signed up in case Hang Ho Tao, who was supposed to be driving, couldn't make it because we weren't sure if he could. And I signed in, saw that he hadn't, and Chris decided, even though he didn't need to get to the end, and I think we still had emergency one driver races yet, he very nicely let me have the car, even though it was an extra pit stop. But to be honest, before I jumped in the car, I had never turned a lap here in the MX-5, and had only done about an hour of practice in a GT3. So completely under-practiced, and I knew with about 10 laps to go, Tomoki was about 10 seconds behind me. I knew I was probably in trouble, but when he caught me, I was finally getting up almost to pace. And as it turned out, his damage and my complete lack of practice wound up being an amazing matchup. And Tomoki's just a great driver. I trust him to go side by side just about anywhere. I mean, he made some late dives, I made some late dives, but really we both knew that each other were going to stay in complete control. And really, I think that's the key to racing hard, is you can race as hard as you want if it's somebody you trust and know well that they're going to keep themselves under control. And it turned out to be a great race.
Yes, well, when you do watch the broadcast, you will see that the focus was entirely on the two of you in the last 20 minutes of the race. Look, a great job, 4th place there. A great battle all season so far between your team and my team, and it's coming down to Road Atlanta, and hopefully we will have another great race there between the teams and with the other drivers as well. We will see you there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see you there. If I'm going to be honest, our enthusiasm for the league is kind of a little on the thin side, but we'll probably show up.
Whoops, we'll pretend we didn't hear that. Thanks for talking to us, Dexter.
That was Dexter Castro,
Yep.
4th place finisher with Chris Hewson in the ST class. Well, so that I can avoid more mocking from our director for mispronouncing words in the heat of the moment, I'm going to close up today. We want to thank a few people, obviously thanks to the official sponsor of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, and that is Safecraft Racing, maker of real-world safety gear for motorsports. Thanks to Wes Eric, the organizer of the CESCS. And of course also iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio-Technica, Behringer, and AverMedia are our usual software and hardware that we use to make our broadcast possible. Thanks to the team today, Brian, who did a fantastic job for his first time as a co-commentator, and Sean and Giancarlo, and a special thanks to Richard for helping us out here at the end. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and upcoming broadcasts. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Thanks goes out to Dougie Beard, who creates all the camera sets for the Global Sim Racing Channel, and a special thank you to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who both provide music for our broadcast. You can buy Eric's music on iTunes and Spotify, and Casey's at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Next race, as we mentioned, that's going to be Road Atlanta, Saturday, November 14th. That kicks off at 5:05 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. But we also have other upcoming races for other series on screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.